Oh, man, what a day. Welcome, 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 one and all. Trump giving his press conference earlier. It's always fun. Trolls so many people. You know, the media runs back and like, oh, my God, he said the Gulf of America. Oh, my God, he said this. Oh, my God, he said that. Get over it. Get over it. Did you see that Judge Eileen Cannon blocked the release of Jack Smith's report? Yeah, there's a reason for that. First of all, he's got co-defendants. He's not going to be tried. This is ridiculous. I don't know what we're doing at this point in time. It's time to move on from this. I know you guys can't. Some of you out there in the left-leaning land, you have a tough time letting go. We saw that yesterday with the insanity of the way that people treated January 6th, a solemn day. It's a solemn day. Why? Because why? Because of what happened 4 years ago? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Get over yourselves. And the fact that you could compare January 6th, not to even 9/11, but to the Holocaust, was insane. Hello, Bell. Welcome back.
It drives me crazy the way they act like the most armed segment of our country's population showed up to overthrow the government with some knives, a couple handguns, and some mace.
Yeah.
And then grabbed themselves some flagpoles to overthrow our government, which you can't do because they have F-16s, according to Joe.
Yeah, and souvenirs. They got souvenirs on the way. Like they went, we got breakfast, right? Because that's what you do right before. It's like, we'll go to the Waffle House, we'll get breakfast. And afterwards, we'll get some souvenirs, watch Trump's speech, and we'll storm the castle just like he wants us to. So.
Even after he said, march peacefully.
Yes. That's always left out. Again, and you're in charge of your own self, but just the insanity of it all. Speaking of insanity, today, people woke up and they're like, who's this Mark Zuckerberg character with long hair? What's he talking about?
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Mark.
I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there.
And I think we all recognize what legitimately bad stuff is, right? The violence. I don't need to see a snuff film. I don't, there's enough of that. There's a ton of stuff. The children trafficking, all of that stuff. We recognize that. But we're talking about things like Hunter Biden's laptop. For the right, that's what's important to them.
I saw a story about Zuckerberg, and this has been a couple years now, but he was talking about, or actually it was about Facebook. It wasn't Zuckerberg talking to me. They were talking about how they have people that are actually looking at content that has to be deleted. And that it's so intense, that job, with what you have to delete and what you're looking for, that most people don't last more than 4 months because of the hard crap they have to look at.
You're seeing the most horrific things, right? And so there's two kinds of censors. The AI is the censor that the right and we all complain about because, again, I've been suspended on numerous occasions for ridiculous things.
Me too.
Yeah, for ridiculous things.
I thought I saw you at the union meetings.
Yes. I mean, for absolutely ridiculous things where you're just like, are you blanking kidding me? And I was telling Chris, we got suspended one time for a climate change thing that this was put up. It was a New York Times article about something. And it was a picture of Greta Thunberg. How dare you ruin my life? You know who? And it was a picture that they took. And it had one of those little Bob Barker microphones in front, like it's several different microphones, but that one. And it was the black wind, screen that you see on it. And it looked like it covered her nose. I didn't even notice it. Looked like she was Adolf Hitler. How dare you? We got suspended for that. We got this big, we had to fight to get our account back. Actually, I had a friend who worked at Facebook one time, had to help me get that back. It was ridiculous. So, look, we understand the bad things that are out there. But yes, there were things that we absolutely should be more than perturbed about.
Terrorism, child exploitation, these are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms.
Which is good. And people are like, oh, so what does that mean? Like, what are you going to do? What are some of the things we can talk about? Because you never know, right? Like, that was always the thing about Facebook and Twitter at the time before Elon took it over. And Instagram, by the way, Instagram has never been as political as Twitter and Facebook have. Instagram was a lot more influencer, but you never knew what it was going to be about. Like, you never knew why you were getting suspended, the code of conduct, or you went against the rules. What rules? I mean, what you changed the rules. That was the issue people had with this.
We're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse.
And that's a big deal. Out of touch with mainstream discourse. Translation, we saw the election, and we see the fact that you've got the craziness when it comes to kids and trans, the immigration debate, which is just ridiculous. These are not where the average person is. And that average person is in their 50s, and those people tend to lean to the right. So you want to keep your audience. And alas, you're going to do that. You hope. Now, I don't know. One of the things about, the whole thing with Facebook is, how big is Facebook? Here, not as big as it used to be. Not even close. Still big. Big for business, right? Big for going on there and, hey, I want to buy something. You can, that's decent. When it comes to the average person, rarely are they on Facebook, especially anybody under the age of 30 or 35. On the other side of things, globally, Facebook is still a behemoth. And I think part of this has to do with what's going on in Europe, in particular, what's going on in Britain, which we'll touch on a little bit later, but it is insane. And I'm saying this from a person who lived in Britain for a long time, who thinks of it still at times as my second home. But I do not recognize what it has become. The censorship and the insanity of what is happening over there is terrifying. And I think that has also made him go, whoa, government's way too damn involved. Earlier, Trump Jr. went to Greenland. I've been to a lot of places. I've been to Iceland. I think we stopped at Greenland once, but I don't think we ever got off.
This has got to be the biggest troll I've ever seen the guy do.
Totally.
I mean, he's literally talking about trying to buy another country. His son is in that country right now, which makes it look like there's some kind of negotiations going on. But we're not buying Greenland, people. It ain't going to happen.
And Greenland is pissed because they've got the argument with Denmark. And so you've got this battle going on, which makes me think of back in the days, the early 80s, of the Falkland Islands and the UK. The Battle of the Great Puffin. So but here's the deal. Trump recognizes he's got to get moving forward. There's no doubt about that. The question is, what kind of bill are you going to be able to get through? How big is it going to be? When is it going to happen? What does it look like? Immigration, obviously top of mind for a lot of people. I did a couple things today for a couple other station stuff. One of the things I talked about was they kept asking me, what's the priority for immigration? Well, first and foremost, as much as the criminal aliens that we know in custody, that's low-hanging fruit. Get those gone. But the gotaways has to be the most important thing. Who do you squeeze to get the gotaways? 2 million people came into this country that shouldn't have been here, that weren't going to even they weren't even trying for asylum. Do I think all 2 million are terrorists? No. But do I think there are a lot of people in there that have serious issues with our country and want to do damage? Absolutely. That's the focus that has to happen first and foremost. But you're also looking at manpower. What do you have manpower-wise? I don't know. I mean, the border has to be secure. You've got to take care of that first and foremost, but you can do that with some executive orders, getting rid of the CVP app and a few things like that. But then it's on to the interior, and that's the place that the unknowns, but also the unknowns of how much money are we going to have? How many people are we going to have to actually do this? What places are going to argue and fight with us that we're going to have to go after through the federal purse eventually, and potentially through criminal prosecution for hiding people and aiding and abetting. These are all things. It's not going to be as simple as I've heard a lot of people think it's going to be. It isn't.
The question is whether or not we do the two bills or one bill. And, look, I can live either way. I like the idea of the one big bill, but I can live either way.
One bill, two bills. We'll find out. And the other side of it is, and people don't want to admit this, is who's going to stand up and say, no, this is too much spending, or this is too much this, or this is too much that. Because you're going to have that, even on the Republican side. And with a narrow margin like this, you've got to have everybody. Because otherwise, you're going to have a situation where nothing will get done. And Trump can't afford that. He's got a little bit more leeway in the Senate. But when it comes to the House, he's got to make sure that everybody's on the same page. But it doesn't mean that everybody's going to roll over. Because you're going to have some people who are going to look at some of this stuff. Who knows what's in whatever's in there? Because, again, we don't know until as we've learned, right? We've all learned this. The details. The devil's in the details. And how many times have we seen something, it was supposed to be this, and then it's 1,500 pages, or it's this, and we've got 12 hours to read it. We need to make sure that what's in there, look, it's real and it's sustainable. I don't want my kids writing any more checks down the road. I have a 6-year-old, and I got to look at her and go, you know what? You're going to pay for a lot of this stuff for a very, very, very long time. Yeah. I hope we understand. We've kicked this can so far down the road that our grandkids are going to be paying stuff back. We've got to get a handle on this.
We need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. That's for the free world. I'm talking about protecting the free world.
That is such a troll.
You should totally give it up. Hey, you should give me that. You guys ever had a friend like that? Hey, dude, you should give me that. No, you should probably give it. It would look better on me than it does you. You don't need this. You should give it to me. Are you going to eat that? No, you should give it to me. That's Trump. That's so Trump. Think about the average person in Greenland who's going, wait, look at all the people fighting over Denmark and now America.
I can just see him arguing over French fries or something.
Oh, good God. What a insane way to start our day. A lot of stuff to get to today. Jack Johnson, not the singer.
He has actually had to move his time, so he's going to be in at 1:30 instead of 1. He's got a meeting with the governor.
All right. Well, let's talk about the assembly coming up. Kick it off. State assembly, kick it off. What's going to talk about? Talk about abortion when he comes in. We're going to talk, obviously, about schools, tuition, and the whole should they or shouldn't they? Couldn't they get the vouchers across the line? Will they or won't they? Immigration, a bunch of other stuff. We'll talk to him. He'll be coming up at 1:30. Bunch of stuff for us to talk about as well today, including I was talking a bit about with Chris with WWE, but it's not just about WWE. It's about where all of these companies now realize they have to go if they want to be sustainable in the world of streaming. My name's Chad Benson. This is Super Talk 99.7. Prize Picks. I want you guys to go download the app now. And when you use my code, Chad, when you download the app, they're going to give you a $50 bonus right away once you play your $5 lineup. So what is Prize Pick? It is amazing. It's playoff times, right? We got everything going on. It's huge, especially now because it's the real deal now, right? So you can win up to 1,000 times your money with Prize Picks, right? It is so easy to use. You go, you choose your lineup. Maybe you think, Lamar's going to throw for over 250. Patrick Mahomes is going to have more than 1.5 touchdowns passing. And maybe he's going to have, whatever it is. You pick them, you line them up, and you go. It is truly that simple. Use my code Chad now. And when you create your account, boom, $50 once you play your $5 lineup. What are you waiting for? Simple, easy. Grab your phone, download the app today, dive into the action. Don't forget, use code Chad, get that extra $50 bonus. Are you ready to play? Are you ready? Once you play that $5, boom, they throw $50 to you. Prize Picks, run your game.
Well, the man who set a woman on fire on the New York City subway has entered a plea, and a Middle Tennessee school board considering putting volunteer parents on school buses to point out the bad kids. Details at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Is it that bad on buses?
Apparently so.
Do we need referees?
Got to have referees on them buses.
Sweet mother of goodness. I can't wait to hear about that.
All we had growing up were coaches that would wait until the bus was letting off.
Well,
And after the coaches got a hold of you, everything was smooth sailing.
that was different, Ken.
Sounds
You could
very
do
familiar.
things. You could do things a little bit different back then.
Yeah.
Right? You could be grabbed by the scruff of your neck, and you know what? Your mom would look at you. Would you deserve it?
Yeah.
Right? Did you deserve it? Nowadays, it's like, lawyer up.
Yep.
We own a school.
Not my child.
Oh, good God. That is just, does anybody want a ref? Right? Because I'm sure there's rules for the bus driver. Like they can't do this or they can't do that.
Yeah.
And you can't look this way. And you must address the children as yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's all hands off.
Oh,
It's hands off.
little gentle parenting. That's what we're hearing.
You got to get a
Gentle
timeout, young man.
And you know what? Phones play a huge part in this, man.
Oh, dude, that was a great tool for my wife and I during some formative years raising our children.
That is because kids nowadays are absolutely doing anything they can to get a laugh, to get a look, to get a view.
Yeah.
Because they want to view, they want to share, they want to like, it's Pavlov's dog, right? Like it's just reinforced over and over again.
Yeah. And like you said, that's anything to get a view, a like, whatever. They'll do it.
Nuts indeed. Speaking of nuts, but also, I think, very good. And I'm glad that this is happening.
2 out of every 5 Americans have medical debt, and those unpaid medical bills can take a big toll on your credit score. But now that is about to change. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is finalizing a rule to erase $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans.
I like it. Most of our bankruptcies are medical. And it's one thing if you knew going in what you were going to be charged, but you don't. And the stuff that you're charged for is ridiculous. And, go across the street and you're going to pay X for an appendix being out. The other side of the street, you're going to pay Y. And
if you use insurance, it's a more expensive process than using cash.
yeah.
But of course, if you've had to have $100,000 surgery, who's got that kind of cash laying around?
And everything's $100,000 surgery. That's just it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you needed anesthesia. That was $25 gazillion. Right?
And you paid for the bonus where you don't have your anesthesiologist playing their Nintendo Switch while they're putting the anesthesia in.
Who was it last year was going to do that thing with the anesthesia? It was United, right? United Healthcare was going to charge. So if you were scheduled for a surgery and it was supposed to be 4 hours, you got anesthesia for 4 hours. If they went over the 4 hours, you had to pay out of pocket for all the anesthesia afterwards. And the doctor.
And you don't even know that going in.
You don't know that going in. You have no idea. Like, it's, you go across the street, I said this, and I'll say it again, guys. If you break your arm, being in England, pretty good. You're not getting a bill, right? You break your arm here, you don't even know what you're going to get if you have to go to the hospital and stuff.
But to be fair, in England, you're paying that every time you get a check.
You are, but there's no mystery to it.
Correct.
That's the big thing for a lot of people is the mystery. And I've said this for years, having lived there. If I just run of the mill sick or I hurt myself run of the mill, I'd rather be over there. But, partially because I was playing soccer, I had some other benefits. But if you were really sick, no, the modern technology and all the things we have here are the things that matter. But my God, how many times did people open? It's a surprise. Oh, goody. It's $3.8 million.
Yeah, you got to pay the nurse who pulls the curtain so nobody can see your privates.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm always fascinated by. So I got 2 aspirin, and you charged me $20, and they're like, "Okay, well, we won't. We'll charge you $1 a piece." So then they take that $18 difference and they write that off as a loss. That's the game that they play. It's all about numbers, right? They move it all around. It's nuts. So I think this is a good idea. I do. I think you can classify this as something different. You still try to pay it, but you classify it as something completely different than on your regular credit. Two out of every five have huge debt. Most of our bankruptcies are medical debt. And they're not because people don't make the money. It's just that they were hit with something that was just impossible to ever pay back. We're going to talk about Netflix. We're going to talk about sports. And why, how many of you listening right now, you guys can text the program. I'm sure tons of you listening right now. You're like, I'm cutting the cable. Here you are a few years later. You're like, I'm paying more because now I got to go to 50 different places to get the things I used to love. It's crazy. But there's one thing that's the king of everything when it comes to entertainment. We'll talk about that, a bunch of other stuff. This is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
$12:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've picked up a crash. Actually, no, it's not a crash. It's just some road work. But it's going to be slowing you down none the same. You got to get over, and so you don't run over any of the workers. The right shoulder is blocked 40 eastbound, right past 24 downtown. The man who police say set fire to a woman on a New York City subway train last month has entered a plea. Here's Sherry Preston.
By all accounts, the crime was horrific.
The suspect used what we believe to be a lighter to ignite the victim's clothing, which became fully engulfed in a matter of seconds.
NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch on December 22nd. Now, the suspect accused of doing that has pleaded not guilty to murder and arson charges. Prosecutors say Sebastian Zapata is a Guatemalan citizen who was deported in 2018 but slipped back into the country. Subway crime is actually down in New York City, but Tisch says riders simply don't feel safe.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau finalizing a rule that erases $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans. Here's Elizabeth Schulze.
CFPB says that this move could boost borrowers' credit scores by an average of 20 points. That can help you qualify for mortgages and other kinds of loans.
The judge in the now dismissed classified documents case against President-elect Trump and two co-defendants is temporarily blocking the Justice Department release of Special Counsel Jack Smith's report. Having reviewed a draft of it in recent days, the Trump lawyers argued the report's release would threaten the rights of the co-defendants, who they also represent, also step on Trump's rights as an incoming president. And right now in Tennessee, Fox 17 says the Wilson County School Board considering putting volunteer parents on school buses to help drivers when kids misbehave. Some members say middle schoolers are causing the most problems. If volunteer parents are used, they would not be allowed to put hands on kids. They would just let the driver know when there are problems and which ones are the troublemakers. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Several of you text in telling you the horror stories of your surprise bill. Keep those coming. Text us. Let us know what the worst surprise bill. Somebody just said their son had to have an X-ray. It was $4,000.
How do you justify that?
I don't know. Like, how much is an X-ray machine? Like, I can't read it, but
did they pay for the entire machine with that one account?
I don't know. I just, and they're like, we have insurance. Yeah, well, because if you told them you didn't, and you said you're going to pay cash, it would have been $100. There is we should get them on the line to interview them. There's a hospital, I think it's in Omaha, where everything is cash. So it's that you essentially get like a menu up front of whatever it is you're going to do. And they break everything down with you. And when you go there to get surgery and the follow-up, everything is paid cash. So there is never a surprise bill. There is none of that stuff. It's just cash. This is it. So if this needs to come out, and obviously a lot of the times these are things like somewhat elective, like your hip, right? Or maybe you've got, surgery that's somewhat elective. No, Bell, not breast, but you know what I'm talking about. Somebody just said they sent a thing over that said her friend ended up having to claim bankruptcy, so it cost them $51.50 for each breast. What's wrong with you people?
What's wrong with us?
Oh, my Lord.
Who are you hanging out with?
I don't know. These are people are texting me. What's that all about? But send us, what's your biggest surprise bill? My mother, so my little brother, I'll give you guys a little snapshot of my life here so we know you guys will start to learn as I bring. Some of these people actually come on the show one day. So my sister, little Cracky McCrackerson, she's had a lot of issues in her life, and God bless her. I wish her all the best. We have nothing to do with her anymore. But my mother's adopted all of my little nieces and nephews, but they range from 25 or 26. I have a 13-year-old little brother. What's up, Bubba? His name's Kenny, but we call him Bubba. But my 21-year-old little brother, he was in the hospital for 3 months, and his bill was $3.8 million. We weren't going to cover that. It's insane. And the state of California covers it because through no fault of his own, my sister did a whole bunch of drugs, and it was awful. He's got cerebral palsy, has brain damage. He has trach and a G-tube. That's how he eats. And so through no fault of his own, like all these things. But it's crazy. It is. And it's like $3.8 million. You're like, my God, it's insane. Speaking of insane, last night, and Bell, what'd you think of the opening? You saw the opening of the WWE thing.
Yes.
Incredible, right?
Very, very well done. It still amazes me to look back on my childhood and seeing wrestling on the local channels and seeing guys like Tojo Yamamoto and all these 70s classics and what it's turned into now just in terms of the pomp and circumstances.
Yeah.
And it's just this giant, I mean, back in the 70s, people kind of laughed at wrestling as being not that big of a deal. Well, it's a $5 billion deal now.
It is. It's a $5 billion deal. And last night it began. Triple H and them. WWE Raw, Monday Night Raw on Netflix.
But what of the story of wrestling itself? What if the canvas could speak? Of an ageless carnival with primeval roots, but came of age with that most American of institutions, television.
TV's not where they're at anymore. Last night they debuted on Netflix. Netflix paid $5 billion. Netflix is doing everything they can, and the reason is simple. Where is viewership? Viewership is in live television because the fact is there's only so many IPs, there's so many hours in the day, and the goal is to get people to the TV as much as possible. Many of you listening may have a Netflix, may have Hulu, may have something. You don't watch it that much, maybe once in a great while. But when it comes to sports, it's the one thing we won't do. I need to know what's going on then and there. Because because there is no more hiding it. There is no more hiding all of the scores. You're going to know everything. And we love to share. And that's the beauty of sports. We all share at the same time. As a kid growing up, I'm 54 years old. I remember this, and I'm sure Ken does, and I'm sure that Bell does. The Miracle on Ice, I didn't see that till 11:30 at night because it wasn't live. It wasn't. I watched the Lakers and the Houston Rockets on tape delay after the news in the semifinals of the Western Conference basketball at 11:30 at night. It's not that way anymore. 100 shows last year. Number one thing about the 100 shows that were top 100, first of all, Tracker is a show I've never seen. I'm sure it's pretty good. But 75 of 100 were all sports. Football, mostly. Think about that. Even pregame and postgame got more views than most regular shows did. That's why they are spending tens of billions of dollars getting all of the live stuff they can.
In November, it was Tyson versus Paul. In December, it was NFL games on Christmas. And now in January, it's time for Raw, as in WWE's long-running flagship TV series, Monday Night Raw. It was around this time last year when Netflix announced it had reached an agreement with WWE worth more than $5 billion to stream Raw, as well as other WWE programming over the next 10 years in the U.S. and other countries.
$5 billion, because we want to see stuff live. We do. We absolutely do. Now, I'll watch something 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road if it comes on. Oh, that might be interesting. But I won't watch it tomorrow if it happened today and I already know the score. I don't care. I'll see the highlights and I'll move on. We like to share in these things. People, it was crazy last night watching Twitter, for all the stuff about politics, that, and the other. Go look at the amount of people that were watching this and following and the likes and the shares and looking at all this stuff. It blows everything away because it's a global thing. And that's what they wanted. They wanted the global reach.
In November, Netflix presented the boxing spectacle between former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson and YouTuber turned fighter Jake Paul. The streaming giant says the event garnered 65 million concurrent streams, making it the most streamed sporting event ever. Then, little over a month later, Netflix showcased its first NFL games as part of a 3-year deal, a Christmas Day doubleheader, with each game averaging 30 million global viewers. Netflix says they were the most streamed NFL games in U.S. history.
It's insane. And now, with the way that everything is fragmented, the cutting the cord is ridiculous. Because when I go and look, I'm like, okay, hold on here. I got YouTube TV because I got the NFL package, right? So that's over there. Then I had to get Hulu for this over here. Okay, then I like to watch the Premier League, so I got to have Peacock, and I got that. So next thing you know, you've now piecemealed together. But all of the things that I'm doing, it's all for sports. Has nothing to do with, like something like, oh, I should get this because I like The Office. Nah, I don't care. Right? It's about sports.
Same here, dude.
Right? Like, what do you have?
I have YouTube TV simply because it is the only platform out there where I can get everything that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And like you say, though, for soccer fans, you've got to go to Peacock.
Got to go to Peacock, right? Hulu will carry like the USA stuff, but they're not going to carry all of the Premier League.
No.
And Hulu will have ESPN Plus, but I don't care about the the German league and stuff. So I got to have Peacock.
Well, and if you don't have a cable subscription, even ESPN Plus, you won't be able to get some things.
Yeah. So it's frustrating. So now I'm spending probably more than I was before.
Me too. And here's the thing: if you don't go premium, my wife and I on a couple of these platforms, I told her, I said, do you realize that we're now paying for television like it was back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. We're still seeing commercials.
Yeah.
We're just paying for it now.
Which is like, and see, like Bell and I were talking, he's like, dude, they're paid $5 billion for this? I'm like, yeah, because first of all, everybody could stream this last night globally. So they have like 260 million subscribers. So they can all stream this globally. But they're also, you got commercials. But that's what you have. If you've ever been to a wrestling match, you know that they just don't go from one to another. It is a long event.
Oh, yeah, yes.
So it is a crazy long event. And so they're getting a double dip on this. But you have to go to so many places now. But the only reason people are going to those places outside of a very few, is they're going there because sports.
Yep.
That's it. Sports. Once YouTube got a hold of the, I was like, okay, we had the dish, and then YouTube got, the Sunday ticket. I'm like, all right, now I got to get this. And it's not, but we enjoy watching sports as a group. And I'm not going to watch something where I know I can just go watch the highlights and know the score.
Right.
Which is crazy. But this is what we've done now. And it's going to be a la carte very soon. I have a feeling it's going to be. And what was it yesterday? Was it Hulu decided to buy Fubo?
Yes.
Fubo?
Well, it's a little confusing because the main portion of Hulu is still Disney, and then there's this part of Hulu they merged with this other company that Disney will control.
Yeah,
will have 70% control of.
It's convoluted, and the other thing is, like, I'm sitting there going, okay, wait a minute. Like, I looked at my bill the other day. I'm like, hold on a second. I can go to Disney Plus and get Hulu and something else.
Yeah.
But I'm paying individually for the rest of them. Why you guys haven't hooked me up, right? Like, they're not going to tell you that.
No.
But I've got a kid, so she wants to watch Disney. Although it's like one of those things, like, do I really watch Disney that much? It's so convoluted. But it's all about sports. I mean, wouldn't it be great if they just had a channel that was nothing but the things you wanted with sports?
Yes.
That would be the one thing, I bet you that'd be bigger than anything else. Like, somebody just texted in and says, Chad, do you have Paramount Plus? Because they have Champions League Soccer. Yeah, I had to have Paramount Plus.
Yep.
And plus they have Landman. Oh, great show.
And I like that Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
I do like that.
But that's where we are in this world. It's all about sports. It's the only thing they're fighting over. Because it's the only thing where it will be an appointment viewing that they don't get on a daily basis. And they need that because the way that they've worked this, even with their IPs, is you don't know how long until the show comes back. Right? Like, what was it? Stranger Things. Like, Millie Bobby Brown's like, she's a woman now.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's a very difficult thing to do when you have a show about kids because they age out of the storyline so fast. But, if you look at the boys.
Yes.
The boys, I think the last season ended in March or came out in March or maybe May.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be another year before the next season comes out.
And what's the Squid Games? So that came out like a year and a half ago. They got the new one out now. They were smart enough to realize, though, because they didn't think it was going to be a hit the way it was, that they filmed season 2 and 3 together. So you'll get season 3 this year. But, like, for me, I like Vikings, Valhalla, and I like Vikings. But you'd go 16 months without seeing a show. It drives me crazy. It is. A lot of stuff still to get to. Man, we're having fun today. We do that. And, of course, we're going to have a look at the weather because I have a feeling we're going to get some. I heard there may be some shoveling involved. Not for me, but for other people who have to shovel. I live in an apartment. That'd be silly. Why would I shovel anything? It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, RUFFgreens.com. Go there. Use my code Chad. And you say, Chad, what is Rough Greens? So Rough Greens is two things. It's a supplement for your dog, and it's a powdered supplement for your cat. We got Meow Greens. So all you do when you get this is you open it up. It's got a scoop. You scoop a little bit on your dog or cat's food and watch what happens. Maybe your cat struggles with allergies. Maybe your cat struggles with teeth issues and gum issues. Watch what happens. Maybe your dog, as I like to say, a little long in the tooth, not as mobile as they used to be. This is going to help them with their aches and pains. It's going to give them a little bit more oomph in their life. It is awesome. It is incredible and easy to use because they don't ask you to do anything crazy like go out and make special food for them. Just keep the food you have right now. It's that simple. Now, if you want a free bag, they're going to give it to you. All you have to do is cover the cost of shipping. RUFFgreens.com. Use my code Chad. It's a $20 value. It's a Jumpstart trial bag. You try it. Watch what happens. Swear by it for my animals. I use it every single day for both my cats and my dogs. Rough Greens, RUFFgreens.com. Use code Chad. Roughgreens.com, code Chad.
All right, drivers, still have some road work. That's going to cause a delay eastbound of 40, just past 24 downtown. Road work there on the right shoulder, blocking it. Major rules changes today benefiting anyone with medical debt. We'll tell you about it at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Before the annual trade show known as CES even kicked off, companies were already announcing new gadgets. LG showed off a TV that uses AI to sharpen images, and Bosch has even made a smart crib that it says can detect when your baby needs a diaper change. Mobility, also expected to be a major theme this year, says Gary Shapiro, CEO of the Consumer Technology Association.
Not only cars, but you see boats, and you see things that fly you around, or electric scooters.
All kinds of stuff like that out there. If you've never been to CES, everybody should go once. You want to see how awesome stuff is in the future. Now, here's the thing. If you ever do go, it's like going to Coachella or Lollapalooza or one of those big things. They have the main stage. That's all the ones they were just talking about there. Then they have the side stage. Who's going to be the stars next year? That's the place you want to go because you get to see stuff and you're like, oh my goodness. And then 3 years later, it's everywhere.
The annual trade show is often more of a place for startups to have a breakout moment, and there are plenty of them, says Gary Shapiro, CEO of the Consumer Technology Association.
So we have an area called Eureka Park. There'll be over 1,100 small startups.
And a major focus this year, AI.
Obviously, generative artificial intelligence will be the big deal of the show. I think about half the exhibitors will be talking about that.
Yeah, and then Mark Cuban's going to be there, and they're going to be doing some test running, if you will, for Shark Tank. Because there are so many cool things. One of the cool things I saw is this, because the future is getting older for a lot of people, and they're trying to find out how do we give people who are older, in particular people who may be in resting homes or, you know, God's waiting room, if you will, how do we give them, Congress, how do we give them things to talk to and people to, you know, chat with? Because a lot of them, they don't have family. They get stuck in there. I remember when I used to go visit my great-grandmother, I'd look around, man, this lady would be laying in bed all day. It's next to her. You know, my grandma, they'd roll her out and do stuff. She was, you know, she started to lose her marbles, but whatever. But now they've got these things that they've been using in Japan for years to help with people who are elderly, where it chats with you and to make it feel like you're not so lonely, which I think is kind of neat because, my goodness me, I mean, think about the coming flood of the elderly. And it is going to get really bad in the next decade or so. We don't have people to take care of them. We don't have places for them. But even if we do, they need some stimulation. Like, the last thing you want to do is just put in a room, wait to die, which unfortunately happens too much. So that was really cool. But they got some of those wacky TVs that are just, you know, it's like, it's 5,000 inches. It costs, you know, it's paper thin. You're like, who builds this? Tiny people, Chad. Very tiny people. So I think tomorrow we're going to have my uncle on, who's actually out at CES with our other company, walking around. And he said, man, there's so many crazy things out there. Okay, I mean, he's like, Chad, he goes, they've got now these home ice cream machines that are amazing. They make real ice cream. None of that crap that you ever get something, you're like, oh, it's going to make a donut for me. It doesn't taste like a donut. No, he says, this tastes like ice cream. That's just what I need, right? Like more ice cream. So there's plenty of stuff.
There's no such thing as too much ice cream.
No, there's not. But, you know, the thought of having a soft serve in my house, while it excites me, it also frightens me.
I've actually seen barista machines out there that can make coffee just like Starbucks does.
Oh.
You can have it right there in your house.
My dream was always to have a faucet, you know, like just like, right. Like a fountain, like just go like with all the drinks.
I think you've given me a new goal, and that's to get a soft serve machine in my house.
Yeah, it's like he's like, dude, it's real. It's not like because sometimes you know, you go and you see it, it's like from Brookstone or one of those things. Like, hey, it's a real soft serve. It isn't. It is. This is. It's crazy good. A lot of stuff. Next hour we're gonna get to. It's gonna be fun because that's all we do, kids. Have fun. Infotain. I promise you that. If not, you get your money back, even though this is absolutely free. Keep sending in. We got some of your bills coming in. What is big in your biggest surprise bill when it comes to the doctor, hospital? Some of you, somebody went in, $45,000. Surprise! That's a kick in the grundle for you. My name's Chad Benson. This is Super Talk 99.7.
I was talking about the video game.
Thrive Cosmetics Brilliant Eye Brightener is your Of Course I Got 9 Hours.
1 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Got some more breaking news involving court cases involving the president-elect. It looks like the appeals court judge is refusing to delay Trump's Friday sentencing in that hush money case. Medical debt will no longer appear on credit reports under a new rule finalized by the Biden administration today. The move to ban reporting of medical debt to credit bureaus, which can impact your ability to get a loan for a house, car, or small business, will remove some $49 billion from the credit reports of 15 million Americans. This could raise credit scores by 20 points or more. Some big changes coming to some popular social media platforms. Here's Mike Dabusky.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg says the systems they've put in place to moderate content on Facebook and Instagram have gotten too complex. His platforms are now removing certain content restrictions on topics like immigration and gender and moving the trust and safety team to Texas. Zuckerberg also says they're working with the incoming Trump administration to promote free speech online.
The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech.
Right now in Middle Tennessee, Fox 17 says the Wilson County School Board is considering putting volunteer parents on school buses to help drivers when kids misbehave. Some members say middle schoolers are causing the most problems. This was board member Dr. Beth Myers at last night's meeting.
If you are a parent, please talk to your children about respect, about sitting down, about not using profanity with our bus drivers. It's common courtesy.
Yeah, if volunteer parents are used, they would not be allowed to put hands on kids. Just let the driver know when there are problems and which ones are the troublemakers. Well, the Trump-appointed federal judge who oversaw the classified documents case against the president-elect is blocking release of the final conclusions of special counsel Jack Smith. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy with more.
The order from Judge Eileen Cannon says the Justice Department cannot release the special counsel's report until the appeals court above her weighs in. The fear expressed by lawyers for Trump's co-defendants in the classified documents case is that the release of Jack Smith's findings could threaten the rights of the two men who still face trial. Trump's attorneys say the report could also step on his rights as an incoming president. It's now unclear whether these issues can be fully resolved before Trump takes office in less than 2 weeks.
And right now in Nashville, the Tennessee Titans front office making some moves. They've fired general manager Ron Carthon after a second consecutive last-place season in the division. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Starstruck. Yeah. I'm going to tell you guys this on the left. If, big if here, if you want Trump not to troll you, ignore him. If you want to continue to be the butt of all jokes, then react crazy every time he says something. Earlier, I saw several people on CNN. People get paid for this. Like, hey, let's go in and discuss something some other person said, and we'll take it as the gospel truth. Really? Like, that's why I don't go on those shows. Because they would be like, what do you think? I think he's trolling you guys. Why are you paying attention to this? Talk about stuff that matters.
Assets, we're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name.
And then the reaction, oh my God, he said it. He means he's going to go in and he's going to take it. He's got people in Greenland. They're going there now to buy Greenland. He's going to take it from them. We can't stop him. He's already out of control. Don't react. It's like you guys remind me of a parent that reacts to everything their child does. And then when their child does something and you react again, they're like, I don't know why they do that. Because you react. Don't react. Just go, good luck. I wish you the best. Look, if you can get it and change it to the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, Gulf of whatever, I don't care. If you're going to do this, fantastic. When you react, that's exactly what he wants. Plays the game. Stuff that does matter, energy. It's interesting. He was asked about energy after yesterday and what Biden did.
It's always hard to bring down prices when somebody else has screwed something up like they did, but we'll bring them down. We'll get them down. Energy is going to bring down prices. We're going to have a lot of energy, and energy is what brought it up. Energy and their bad spending is what brought it up, and energy is going to bring it down. We're going to have prices down. I think you're going to see some pretty drastic price reductions. As an example, food, bacon, ham, apples, everything has gone through the roof. It's one of the reasons I won. So as you know, I said it, inflation was one of the reasons I won, but I think the biggest reason I won was the fact that they are allowing prisoners to come into our country. They released their prisoners, their murderers. Thousands of murderers are now walking around the streets of our cities and farmland all over. Murders, people that have killed. Many, 32% have killed more than one person. They released them from their jails, their prisons, and their mental institutions and insane asylums into our country. I believe that's the reason we got such a large vote. Maybe.
I think that's a portion of it. There's no doubt about it. Immigration was a massive deal, and that was all self-inflicted. All self-inflicted. Inflation is a big deal. Those things matter. Absolutely, 100%. Those things matter because people see that, they feel that, they understand what is going on. You know, with Trudeau being out, people say, well, you know, there's such a left-leaning country. How could they even think about, bringing in Pierre? Because at some point you hit a critical mass. Most people in the world are a little bit right, a little bit left, right? It's that critical mass of the exhausted majority. A lot of people in the middle. They may have a view this way with one thing, a view that way, but they may skew a little right, a little left. It's when you get to the point, though, where one side of that exhausted majority realizes that the other side has lost the plot and they're hurting. And that's what happened in Canada. And Pierre is, again, he's conservative. He's an interesting character, no doubt about that. And I think it'd be great for Canada. But that's how you get it. It wasn't just immigration. It was inflation. But immigration's a big deal because the race is on right now for a bunch of caravans that are trying to get here as fast as possible because they understand for the first time in 4 years, there's a deadline.
The caravan has just taken off from Tapachula, Mexico, so still traveling to Chiapas, Mexico. And then just since October, this is at least the 10th caravan to form and depart from that Tapachula area. According to Mexican immigration authorities, they expect even more of these caravans to form and depart in the coming days before President-elect takes office. You're looking at some of that footage now. Hundreds right now making that long trek north on foot. The majority of migrants in this caravan are Venezuelan. According to my contacts, those migrants are headed towards that Juarez, Mexico area that's just right across El Paso. But the chances of that caravan actually reaching the U.S. border, well, that's slim to none, with Mexicans stepping up their own enforcement under Operation Carousel. That's why we are seeing those smaller groups still arrive to the U.S. border.
And that's what you're going to get now. Smaller groups arriving much quicker. So the caravans are getting to certain areas and they're splitting off where they think they can get through and how fast they can get here. Because there is a deadline, everybody. Everybody knows the minute he says, yep, it's on. And the race is on to get some of this stuff done. And the first thing is to fix the asylum process and the catch and release. We have an asylum. It's funny when I hear people talk, we've got an asylum. We do have an asylum process. Here's the problem. We didn't even follow that. So the asylum process works like this. Let's say you got out of Crapistan or wherever you were, right? Like you're fleeing Crapistan and you're like, this is the worst place I've ever been, right? You fly, you got enough money, you fly to Uruguay, right? So you left Crapistan and you landed in Uruguay. Now you're going to make the trek from there up through the Northern Triangle right into America. In theory, not in theory, in reality, once you left Crapistan and you landed somewhere that was safe harbor, meaning you weren't being persecuted there, you're supposed to apply for asylum in that country and wait. We have never enforced any of that. Minus like one or two exceptions. We've never enforced what we're supposed to. And so we've allowed it to be just come here and apply, and then we're going to turn you loose. That's why Remain in Mexico works so well, because we're like, hey, great, you apply for asylum. We'll hear you as soon as we can. By the way, you stay over there.
Authorities in Mexico say that their shelters across the country are starting to see an uptick of new arrivals. This has prompted Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum to address the issue of deportations with the incoming Trump administration. President Sheinbaum making a surprising reversal on a policy. She just said last month that Mexico would push the United States to send non-Mexican deportees to their countries of origin. She has completely reversed on that position and says that Mexico is now open to accepting those foreign nationals. So an interesting development. Another tidbit that I got from some of my sources is that Mexican immigration authorities, a part of this kind of new tactic to break up those caravans, they are issuing these migrants 20-day humanitarian visas that would allow migrants to legally travel through Mexico and reach the U.S. border and either enter illegally or at least give them a chance to apply for an appointment on the CBP One app.
And as soon as Trump takes over, do you think that CBP One app is going to be here very long? No, I don't think so. I think as soon as he's in, it's gone. Delete that thing. It isn't going to be worth anything. It probably cost us $90 million to build that damn thing, which you could have done in 10 minutes on, GoDaddy.
This would be a major win for the Trump administration. Now, on the Mexican side, they haven't revealed the exact details on how they will take in those foreign nationals. This comes as Mexico did open up 25 new shelters across the country to accept deported Mexican nationals. So it's unclear if they will open up additional shelters for foreign nationals. I did speak with an immigration attorney here in the U.S. who represents Venezuelan nationals. He says this new development, he believes, will lead to migrants actually self-deporting to their home countries to avoid the dangers of Mexico.
These foreign nationals are going to find it more desirable to be in their home country than it is to be in Mexico. And they'll eventually go back to their home country. And that's what we've seen in the past, in the last Trump administration, when they implemented the MPP program. And so I don't doubt that that's going to happen again.
Yeah. You'd rather be broke and struggling in your country of origin, unless you really are being persecuted, than being broke and potentially kicked out of here with no chance to return for 10 years or stuck in Mexico or another country where you're going to get no chance to have a living. So you return home and you think, well, maybe the next sheriff, this sheriff's not going to allow this. No, he's not. Nor should he. Nor should he. We've allowed way too much of this. It's gone on way too long. And there's a difference between being kind and having empathy and being taken advantage of. And we, the taxpayers, the American citizens, have been completely taken advantage of. And a vast majority of that falls on this administration. Vast majority of it. Some of it falls on Congress and Congresses before because they could have done something. But no matter what you do, if you don't enforce the law, it doesn't matter. If you go, okay, here's the law. The law is this. Okay, great. Now, don't enforce that. Well, then why do we have a law? It's more suggestion. Okay. We move on. Zuckerberg with a big announcement today. He's going pro in UFC. No, he's not. But he is saying, you know what? I'm done refereeing everything that goes on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey, everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly.
I got zero problems with that. People, everybody agrees with that, right and left. It's the other stuff. The way the algorithms were completely biased against conservatives. The way that stuff was squashed when it shouldn't have been. And the ways that the rules changed from side to side. It didn't matter where you were, the goalpost was always moving.
So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms.
Amen. Now, again, take him for what it's worth. I think he is over being a referee. I think his goal is to be a professional UFC fighter. I think he is done with this game. I think he felt like he took the blame for 2016, and I think he felt like I overdid it in 2020. We can all agree on that. But if this is true, that's great. But a lot of people have already moved on, right? They're on the other stuff. They're on the TikTok. They're on the Instagram. They're on to, whatever the newest thing is this week. But Facebook is still big globally, and I think a lot of that has to do today with what's going on in Britain with the ridiculous overreach of the government. And I mean ridiculous. Like, you do something wrong in Britain, you're probably not going to jail. But if you like something, you share a meme, ooh.
Did you see the story yesterday about the United Kingdom police commissioner saying that if Americans were saying stuff on social media that broke their laws, they would have us extradited and prosecuted?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Bring it on, buddy.
Yeah, good luck to you. You know what? I look over there at once great country. That once great country, by the way, a tiny little rock in the North Sea that dominated the globe is now become a crap hole. I lived there on and off for a decade. I loved it there. I do not recognize it anymore.
So you're saying we don't actually need common sense knife control?
We don't need common sense knife control.
Yeah, okay.
Good. We need kitchenware control. Absolutely. Common sense. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
He was beaten to death with what? A ladle.
That's right. Yes, very much. A big spoon. Let's watch out for those. Common sense indeed. Ha ha. A lot of stuff. We got Jack Johnson still coming in at 1:30. Am I correct?
That is correct.
All right, cool. So we got a lot of stuff still coming up. This is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7. Bulwark Capital. I want you to call them today and see all the great things they do. First and foremost, check out all the stuff they do online. Go to knowyourriskradio.com. So Bulwark Capital wants to help you with your retirement. And when it comes to that is, where are you in your retirement? Are you risking way too much? Are you in a position where you're not risking anything, you're not growing, and your retirement may be far away? They're going to give you what they call a second opinion. It doesn't cost you anything, a little bit of time. Call 866-779-RISK, 866-779-RISK, or go to K-N-O-W, yourriskradio.com. And their big thing is risk management through active management. Lower risk, lower cost, lower volatility. They do this by every day working with you, making sure that you're moving in the right direction. So they're going to give you a free jumps. Just go in there and they're going to jump right into it. They're going to take a look at everything you've got, and they're going to give you a risk assessment and send you on your way. No high pressure, none of that craziness like, oh my God. Just you take a look at this. Tell me what you think. It's that simple. Call 866-779-RISK. Get your second opinion today from Bulwark Capital, 866-779-RISK, or go to knowyourriskradio.com. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and not a guarantee. Past performance not guarantee future results. Trek 24378.
Got another appeals court ruling in a Trump case, and a Middle Tennessee school district considering using parent volunteers to help keep the peace on buses. All this and more, 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So that just happened. Congress just certified the election of Donald Trump as president. That was hard to watch. Not a single person objected. One of the first things that I did after the congressional meeting ended was go and check what the creators that I get my information from. One of the accounts that I follow, Spirituality with Sam, posted a video about how her opinions about how Donald Trump won't take office again haven't changed. Sam is a psychic, and for weeks now, she has been saying that Donald Trump will not be president again.
Sam is a psycho.
Yeah, she was talking about how much it bothered her. Can you imagine what was going through Kamala's head when she had to certify her own loss?
Oh, I was listening today to Dan and Joan talk about it. And Joan's like, I feel sorry. I said, look, you know what? It's got to be tough. You know, I mean, you were that close to being the most powerful person in the world. You were that close to being mentioned with the likes of Jackie Robinson as breaking not just all kinds of barriers. You were that close to being the first, and now you're on your way out to go be the president of some nonprofit school or who knows what. I mean, still a great life, don't get me wrong. But, you know, and you only have yourself to blame and the person that was, you know, your partner in crime, if you will, in Biden. But she was there yesterday, and she's just like, he won. But it's not over because the psychic is talking.
Who else had to do that? Gore had to do it?
Gore had to do it.
And did Bush Sr.? No. Because he was...
Quayle.
Okay, that's, yeah.
Quayle had to do it. You guys don't know Dan Quayle. Phenomenal. He was just the goofiest vice president ever.
Huge fan of, vegetables, though.
He was. Remember when he went into that cabin and like, who are all these people? They was like, those are our founding fathers.
Really?
Yeah. So, and you know what's great? He's the nicest guy. When I was out in Arizona working, came in a couple times to do like stuff for the show and stuff. Just the nicest guy in the world, but definitely swung and missed. There's no doubt about that. Swung and missed. So, Jimmy Carter, state funeral, the president, Jimmy Carter. Not a lot of presidents like him. There's a lot of people out there, president-wise, that aren't fans of Jimmy Carter, blame him for a lot of stuff. Everybody blames everybody else for stuff. That's the beauty of this. It's his fault. It's his fault. It's your fault. It's his fault. But when is the big day? Like the day when they're going to have the big state funeral? Is it the 12th? Is it the 15th? I don't know.
I got to look at that. Let's see.
Not quite sure. Because he's made his travels and travails, and he's going to lay in state, right?
Yes, yeah. He just landed at Joint Base Andrews.
It's kind of weird, right? Like it's like, hey,
yeah,
we're going to stick this person's body in there, and some of you could walk by it.
Right.
You know, when you boil it down to the bare facts, that's really what they're doing.
That's what it is, right? And it's not even like it's a coffin that you can see through. Right? And see, like, at least you could do is prop him up. Put him in some poses.
Why can I not find the date? Why will it not just pop up? I have to go through an entire story. Just give me the date.
Really?
I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't.
I thought, I don't know when it is either. But it is kind of an odd thing that we do, right? Like the world does. It was like, we're going to bring you to the capital of our country. We're going to put you in some sort of rotunda.
Yeah.
And then we're going to allow people to walk by and stare at your coffin.
There'll be a sailor, a Marine.
Yeah.
Army and Air Force officer there too.
Yeah, just in case.
Were they, before Kennedy was killed, because obviously he had a closed casket due to the circumstances, yes. Were they having open casket burials for presidents before that?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, one or two.
Yeah.
But it's just an odd, like I know when Lenin, when he died over there and they had him like frozen. They had him stuffed. He was taxidermied. But it's such a weird, when you honestly think about it. Taxidermy. Who wants to make Lenin look good?
He doesn't look that good.
No. Who wants to make look better, huh? That's good fun.
Make look better.
Make look better. He already look like weirdo with funny face. You make look better, that's good. If not, you know what happens. But it is, I've often, like, I don't get the visiting something like that. Like when Elvis died, like, oh, let's go walk by. Like, it's just Michael Jackson. Like people who show up at places. Like he died at the hospital. Let's all run over there and we'll burn some candles and put some flowers.
Hey, as we're about to go to Ken, I wanted to let people know I've seen the text. Ken's room is being upgraded. That's why you're not seeing him on camera today. But that'll be fixed real soon and he'll be back.
Oh, yeah. We got big things going on around here.
Still doing the newscast.
I didn't break the camera, boys.
Did not.
I didn't break it.
So disrespectful, without humor. Prop him up, put him in some poses. Yes, it was funny. Get over it. He's 100. He's 100.
He's 100 years old.
Right? He is. He's 100 years old. And it's weird that we even put him anywhere. He should have just been buried. They make big pomp and circumstances over this. Okay, nobody said put him in a cannon and shoot him out across the water or anything. We just said it's kind of an odd thing to do. And then people are going to show up and they're going to walk by him. And I find that weird. Because it's weird. I don't care who the president is. It's just an odd thing to do. Coming up, Jack Johnson, not the singer, but politician. He's going to join the program. We're going to talk about what's going on, right? Like the state assembly's getting ready to kick off. We got some big doings, like vouchers, things of that nature. We'll talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. President-elect Trump on the losing end in the hush money case today. A New York appeals court Judge Ellen Gessmer rejected Trump's effort to delay sentencing, which is Friday. Meanwhile, the federal judge overseeing President-elect Trump's now dismissed classified documents case temporarily blocking the Justice Department from releasing a report prepared by special counsel Jack Smith while the legal battle plays out. A new rule improves the credit scores of millions of Americans by removing medical debt from credit reports. Here's Elizabeth Schulze.
2 out of every 5 Americans have medical debt, and those unpaid medical bills can take a big toll on your credit score. But now that is about to change. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is finalizing a rule to erase $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announcing some changes to Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Here's Mike Dubusky.
The changes include moving the company's trust and safety team from California to Texas in an effort to address the concern that biased employees are over-censoring content, according to Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. He also says his companies will work with President Trump to push back against foreign governments going after American companies to censor more.
Right now in Middle Tennessee, Fox 17 says the Wilson County School Board considering using volunteer parents to keep the peace on school buses. This was board member Dr. Beth Myers at last night's meeting.
These bus drivers and even our teachers are having to put up with a lot of stuff that they should not have to put up with.
Now, some board members say middle schoolers are causing the most trouble on buses. The parent volunteers would be hands-off, just there to observe and let drivers know when there is a problem. Right now in Nashville, the Tennessee Titans front office has fired general manager Rand Carthon. The Titans just finished dead last in the division for a second consecutive season. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Let me tell you something. With all that's going on out there, how's your foundation? You got some issues with, water. You're going to want to call United Structural Systems because you don't take care of them now, you'll take care of them later, and you'll take care of them in a much bigger way. When it comes to large home repairs, guess what? So many people put it off. United Structural Systems is here to help. They've been around for a long time, which is important because you want to know that the people working on your place, the thing that you hold dear, your home, that they're going to be here. In case something goes wrong, you don't want to fly by night. They're not. They're anything but that. Over 30,000 satisfied residential customers. So whether it's foundation repair, it's waterproofing, whatever it is that you need, don't put it off. Call them today, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855. You're going to want to do this because, hey, that thing snowballs and it's ugly. United Structural Systems. Call them today, 615-488-7855. USS serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, online at USSTN.com. Homeowners Trust, USS. Oh, baby. Jack Johnson's here. He's going to sing us a song from his new album called I Was at the Supreme Court. So, good to meet you. We've been hanging out talking. We got a lot of crazy fun stuff to talk about here. But good to have you in. And Bell comes in and goes, hey, you guys got to talk about the Supreme Court because you went to the Supreme Court for the trans bill. You were there. The oracles were above you.
Yes, all 9 of them.
So is it kind of intimidating?
So I've never been in the Supreme Court building. By the way, Chad, welcome to Nashville.
Thank you very much.
We are so excited to have you in Tennessee.
I'm excited to be here.
I'm already a fan. I listen every day. So I've never been in the Supreme Court building, much less the chamber. And I've certainly never been there when they were doing oral arguments. And I've certainly never been there when they're doing oral arguments about a bill that I sponsored and passed, and we passed in the Tennessee General Assembly. So it was a very exciting, surreal experience. And certainly the policy of it is incredibly important. We worked very hard to protect kids. We're talking about Senate Bill 1, House Bill 1 from the 113th General Assembly. We have another Senate Bill 1, House Bill 1 for the 114th, which will convene 1 week from today. This is the legislation we passed to protect children from transgender surgeries and also the use of these harmful drugs that inhibit the development of a child's body, the development of a child's body for purposes of treating gender dysphoria. And we passed that overwhelmingly. We're the test case for the entire nation now on the constitutionality of states. We're up to about 26 states who have passed similar bills. Some of them are in various stages of litigation. So very honored that Tennessee was chosen to be the test case. And it's just another example where Tennessee's leading the nation in so many different areas. So oral arguments were very fascinating to listen to, and hopefully we'll get a decision by June.
It's pretty cool. You like watching it. You're like, I'm going to put that on my Wikipedia.
It's kind of a Forrest Gump moment, as they say.
So here we are. You guys getting ready to start the 114th, and immigration, abortion, the vouchers is a big thing. And it's funny because, I talked to Matt about the vouchers, and I was just talking to Chris earlier about the vouchers. The reality of, because I came from Arizona, everybody likes to look at Arizona as this great test case. Ducey did this thing. He was the governor at the time. And if you don't do it right, it is a giant mess.
Yes.
And I don't think people realize. And Arizona, it has been way more expensive. It has been, most of the people that take advantage of it, their kids are already in private school. They're just getting a free $8,000. Right. What is this going to look like? Because I think school choice is important, but I also think making sure you don't blow it up and make it a nightmare is very important as well.
Couldn't agree with you more. And in fact, it's something we're very proud of in Tennessee. Tennessee is the least indebted state in America. We're the lowest tax state per capita in America. We've got a robust surplus. We've got more money in our rainy day fund than we've ever had before. We're the best fiscally managed state in America. That's not by accident. And we're not going to let any policy initiative, no matter how strongly you feel about it, change that fiscal discipline. And that's very true with the legislation that the governor's proposing. I'm proud to be the Senate sponsor of our Education Freedom Act. And what we've done is a couple of things to avoid exactly what you're talking about, avoid blowing up our budget. We do expect this to be very popular. We think that parents do want choice and want to be able to utilize educational alternatives they think are best for their children. First thing we do is we cap it at 20,000 scholarships statewide. That's very clear in the language. 20,000 scholarships, $7,000 per scholarship. That's $140 million. We've already appropriated that money. It's in our budget now. And that number cannot be increased without appropriation by a future General Assembly. Now, to be clear, there is language in the bill that provides for the program to grow at 5,000 scholarships per year once certain triggers are established. But the money to pay for that has to be appropriated by a future General Assembly. So if no further action is taken from an appropriation standpoint relative to the budget, then that program would be capped at 20,000 scholarships into perpetuity. Now, I think it will be popular. I think it will be fully utilized. And in the future, based on success and utilization, future General Assemblies can contemplate, hey, this is working pretty good. Do we want to appropriate another X number of dollars in order to add additional scholarships? But it's not a runaway program, as it has been alleged by some people. And we're very familiar with what happened in Arizona, and I think they didn't have those protections.
They didn't have any protection. Talking to Jack Johnson, we get ready to talk about the State Assembly. You guys kick off next week. And they didn't have the protections. And the thing is, you guys capped it at 20,000. That's the smart thing to do. Where they just let anybody you wanted to go somewhere, and all of a sudden people were just like, cool, free $8,000 here, free $8,000 there. So somebody wants a scholarship. Like this is what I'm trying to figure out. How do they get the scholarship? What is it that they do?
Sure. So there'll be an application process, and The 20,000, again, depending on utilization and how many people are interested in it. And let me digress for a moment, Chad, and tell you that we have a pilot program that's in operation now in Shelby, Davidson, and Hamilton counties. It's an ESA program similar to what we're proposing now statewide. And so we've learned a good bit from that. Again, it was capped, 7,500 spread over those 3 counties. Utilization on that is growing. We're still not at the full 7,500. This past school year that ended this past May was the first full year of utilization of that. So based on, if you look at other states and try to do some kind of reasonable expectation, it would take us 2 to 3 years to reach full utilization of the 20,000 that's being proposed now. But families will be able to apply, and it'll be more or less on a kind of a first-come, first-served basis.
So I'm excited about it because I'm a huge proponent of it. I don't think kids should be stuck in an area where they really want to learn. Education's important, and they're stuck in a school or a district that is failing. They should be able to go because we've seen it everywhere. I mean, how many times have you seen you put kids who come from low income, come from bad schools, you put them in other places, they thrive.
Exactly.
And you look and you think they have no chance at a school like that. And that's not fair.
When you look at the ESA program that we implemented that went into full effect last school year, of the parents that are utilizing that, we've done satisfaction surveys. 99% of the parents who are utilizing that ESA program are satisfied with it and are excited about it. And it's exactly what you said. And this is where opponents of parental choice, which
is insane.
And even some who call themselves conservative are opposed to empowering parents. We believe in parental rights. Parents should be able to decide what's best for their kids. But when you empower parents to do that, no one knows a child better than their parents or legal guardian. But, you know, we're talking about those who are making educational decisions. And it's not always academic. You know, we got some TCAP scores back on those who are in the ESA program. They're saying, oh, look, they're not doing that much better. Well, first of all, they've been in it 1 year.
Yeah.
Give it a little bit of time. Second of all, parents should decide what's best for their kids. How do you define success? For one parent, that may be, I want to make sure they're teaching the Bible. I want to make sure they're praying in school. That may be it. It may be a child with a specific learning need that a particular private school is better equipped to handle that educational need. There are a myriad of ways you can measure success. But when you see those people who are opponents to this say, well, it doesn't do this, doesn't do that. Well, you're not that child's parent.
Yeah.
Let the parent decide what's best for the child. And when you do that, you get a 99% parental satisfaction rate.
You know, it's funny you talk about, you say even some conservatives, because I know a lot of the battle that goes on across the nation in these is the rural areas that is more conservative, but the reality is those kids aren't getting what they need in school. And so a lot of that pushback comes from the rural areas in the conservative world where they don't want this choice. I always found that fascinating.
Well, I do too. And let me digress again for a moment and say that we believe in public education. You can be a strong proponent of wanting the best public schools we can have in America. We have roughly, Chad, about 1 million kids in public schools. We're proposing a scholarship program for 20,000. That's 2%.
Yeah, you think it's the end of the world.
It's 2%. It's not going to be the ruination of public schools.
It's the fear of success, though, that is the competition. They've already got it built in, no competition.
That's exactly right. And you know what happens when you inject competition into everything? Everything improves.
Absolutely.
All boats rise. And so that's what we're looking at. And I'm very excited about it. We've had a great conversation, and I'm optimistic that we'll get it passed.
So talking to Jack Johnson, the state assembly kicks off 114th next week.
1 week from today.
Abortion, immigration. What's all on the plate here that people are going to go, ooh, I'm going to listen to that? Because like you said, a lot of that stuff gets passed 33-0. Both sides agree on stuff. Nobody ever talks about that.
That's right.
They're going to, just like we're talking about most people don't realize, most of the, SCOTUS, it's 9-0, 8-1. You rarely hear about those. It's certain things. The certain things that are going to be in this one, what is it going to be?
Well, one of the things I'm very excited about is, first of all, something that's very impactful to all of us, and that's a new presidential administration with Donald J. Trump coming into the White House. He will take office.
He's just tried to buy Greenland an hour ago and is now renamed the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America. So if you haven't heard.
Okay, great. So obviously, having a Trump administration is going to be tremendously important for all of us. I'm so excited about Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk with their Doge project. So much of what we have to deal with as citizens, as state governments, as local governments, is dealing with this bureaucracy, this federal bureaucracy, which is such a yoke around the neck of success.
Oh, so much so.
And to see them go in and dismantle that, I think is going to reap huge benefits for all of us. As wonderful as Tennessee is, and I'm very proud of Tennessee, we're the most conservative state in America. I'll argue anyone on that point. But having a cooperative federal government that believes in 10th Amendment, state sovereignty, what the framers intended for our political process to work is, I experienced 4 years of that under the first Trump administration, and I can tell you it was very refreshing. Unfortunately, the last 4 years under President Biden, so a lot of that's been undone. On the illegal immigration front, having a cooperative ICE, having Tom Homan as our borders are, and when our law enforcement picks up someone who's in the country illegally and they've committed a crime, and you do the ICE detainer and you notify ICE, guess what? They're actually going to come pick up that person and get them out of the country, which is what should have been done for the last 20 or 30 years, and unfortunately hasn't. It did under the first 4 years of the first Trump administration, but we're going to have that. So, and I want Tennessee to be a leader in terms of cooperating with the federal government. More to come on that. I may want to ask to come back on your show and talk about
we've got something brewing over here.
Some things that we're going to be doing, because literally I want the Trump administration to know that Tennessee, out of all 50 states, is the one that is ready more than any other state to cooperate and get these illegals out of our state.
Yeah, which is, again, the nightmare of, you see a place like California, which is, I was born and raised. Somebody texted earlier and said, I lived in California from 94 to whatever. And I said, or 76 to 94. I said, well, 94 California is not 2025 California.
Right.
Somewhere along the line, it's lost its plot. And we'd love to keep you around for another segment. You got anywhere to go?
Absolutely. I'm
cool,
good.
And by the way, he didn't ask about Bruce Lee, because did Bell ask you earlier?
He said he's going to.
He's going to ask Governor Lee if he's related to Bruce Lee.
I'm just curious.
Bell did ask me to ask the governor that, and I didn't have an opportunity to, but I've made the commitment to Bell that I am going to ask Governor Lee that.
I appreciate that. And if you have enough time while you're there, ask him if he's related to Lee Majors.
Lee Majors, too. Bruce Lee, anybody with a Lee in their name, find out.
Brenda Lee. I don't think he's related to Brenda Lee.
That would be even a closer one. Jack Johnson's here. We're going to come back. We've got more with him. This is the Chad Benson Show at Super Talk 99.7. Birch Gold, baby. Thank you for pointing at me there. We were having a very serious conversation here. Birch Gold. Gold's awesome. This time of year, you're thinking to yourself, Chad, why would I need gold? Because who knows where life is going to take you, and it could be insane, and Birch Gold is going to help you with that. So what I want you to do, how about a free, doesn't cost you anything, ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era, along with Birch Gold's free information kit. All you have to do is text Benson to 989898. Why do you need gold? Massive debt that we have. Ooh, it's not good. Just in case things go sideways, it's always nice to have the physical side of stuff. And I mean that, having been in this industry a long time, and it's a great way to fight inflation. It's a fantastic thing. It's not going to cost you anything to get something free. And this free is the guide to gold in a Trump era. So I want you to do this right now. You can go check out Birch Gold online, easy to do, or text Benson to 9898. Receive your free copy right now. Lasting peace of mind? Absolutely. So don't wait. Text Benson to 989898 today.
Credit scores will improve under a new rule the Biden administration announced today. Fact-checking changing on Facebook, Insta, and Threads. And a Middle Tennessee school district may ask parents to help keep the peace on school buses. All this and more coming up at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Here we go. We're back. Jack Johnson and I were talking more about school stuff. Jack, I want to ask you a serious question. There's a motorcade going on right now. We were talking earlier about it's bizarre that we are going to have a human being lay in state and people are going to walk by his casket. Isn't that weird? I mean, if you think about it, just from the optics, you're like, oh, you haven't really thought of it like that.
Yeah, I guess it's something we've seen so much about people paying respects in that regard. But we've had people lie in state in the state capitol as well, and you go in and have the family there and the casket's there, and it's
are they actually
it's unusual,
in
but it's
the
something
casket,
that we
though?
do, I guess, to pay respect.
Several people have said that. Are they in the casket? I'm assuming. I don't know. I don't know any of it. It's just weird. I find it to be odd that we would put somebody somewhere and they would just walk by him and, oh, there he is. But how do you know he's even in there?
I have a real quick question.
What?
When you were in the courtroom in the Supreme Court, did you get any kind of a personal sense of how the arguments went?
Yeah, Did you got a sense of the arguments in the court, right? When they were arguing, you got a sense of, you think it's going to be 5-4, 6-3.
That's my takeaway. And again, don't take watching some of the talking heads and the pundits and the legal scholars that watch these things very closely. That was most of their analysis. But the six conservatives, what are considered to be the conservatives on the court, their line of questioning was such that would lead you to believe that. But again, I don't want to get my hopes up. I'm just hopeful for a good decision from the court, whether it's 5-4, 6-3.
What the teams think, though, all the guys and gals around you, did they feel like, because you can get a sense how they ask the question is where they're going.
So I'd use the term cautious optimism.
Cautious optimism.
Yeah, and but I'm grateful that the court took up the case, whether it was ours that they used as the test case or anyone else's, because it does need to be decided. And we touched on this earlier in the previous segment. It really is a fundamental 10th Amendment state sovereignty issue.
Absolutely.
Do states have the right to protect kids and regulate prohibited medical practices? And we do in a lot of other ways. So this is not inconsistent with what we already do. So a lot of legal reasons that we would hope that the court will affirm our
And that's
law.
why everybody's like, oh, they're conservative. No, they're originalists. They look at it in a much different way. They're
That's right.
constitutional. They're looking at the Constitution, and this is what it says, and they're going to go with it. So 114th coming up. You got abortion that's out there. You've got immigration and stuff. People are going to, do you feel like you guys are going to get stuff done? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about.
It is. We have perennial issues. Obviously, we have to come in every year and pass a balanced budget, and we really do that in Tennessee, balanced budget. We try to budget so that we spend far less than we take in. That results in a recurring surplus that we come back every year with. We collect about 2/3 of our revenue from sales taxes, and they can be very affected by fluctuations in the economy.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we always err on the side of conservatism. We base our budget on projected revenues, and so we always try to be very conservative with that. And that's why typically we come in with more money than we planned, which is the way you want us to do it, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
And then we figure out ways to give it back to Tennesseans. Last year in the past legislative session, I sponsored the largest tax cut in the history of the state, and about a $1.4 billion tax cut. So we're demonstrating every day that conservative principles work because we cut taxes, we keep government small and efficient, we put money back in the pockets of Tennessee taxpayers. They go spend it stimulates the economy, and the rising tide lifts all boats.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's awesome. And it was good to have you here today. It was fun.
Yeah, it's good to meet you in person.
We were having a great conversation about all kinds of stuff you guys don't even know about. That it was crazy. And we got to do a podcast because that'll be entertaining because we go on. And, we can just be a little bit more raw and real. 114 kicks off next week, and maybe a special session, maybe not.
Yeah, some conversation about that. We got, obviously, people remember the devastating hurricane that affected Upper East Tennessee and obviously into North Carolina and Georgia. We have some time-sensitive things we want to do to help those people. And so there's a justification for a special session, even if we don't include education, although I think that will be part of the conversation.
There you go. Jack Johnson, thank you so much for coming
Thanks,
in
Jack.
here. We look forward to your next tour. It's going to be awesome. And I loved Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when you did that. So sweet. This is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
2 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Well, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau finalizing a rule that erases $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans. Here's ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
2 out of every 5 Americans have medical debt, and those unpaid medical bills can take a big toll on your credit score. But now that is about to change. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is finalizing a rule to erase $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans.
2 judges making decisions in some Trump cases today. First in New York City, appeals court judge Ellen Gessmer rejecting Trump's argument presidential immunity means sentencing in the hush money case should be delayed. That's set for Friday. And in Florida, federal court judge Eileen Cannon temporarily blocked the Justice Department release of the now dismissed classified documents case report, which special counsel Jack Smith put together. Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta, rolling back many of his company's content moderation practices, including getting rid of third-party fact-checkers.
Fact-checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the U.S.
So platforms like Facebook and Insta will now use a community notes system where volunteers can add additional context to viral posts. Meta's trust and safety team will also move from California to Texas. Right now in Middle Tennessee, Fox 17 says, was there when Wilson County School Board member Dr. Beth Myers spoke on misbehavior on buses.
If you are a parent, please talk to your children about respect, about sitting down, about not using profanity with our bus drivers. It's common courtesy.
Dr. Myers and the other board members considering volunteer parents that would ride buses to observe students and let drivers know when there are issues. They would be hands-off, just observers. Some board members said they're told middle schoolers are causing the most problems on buses. Here in Nashville, Rand Carthon is out as Titans general manager, fired today after the team ended the season dead last in the division for a second consecutive year. And saying goodbye to our 39th president, saluting his life of service after 3 days of tributes in his native Georgia, the body of President Jimmy Carter coming to our nation's capital.
He will be honored by so many lawmakers, many of whom weren't even born when he was in office. But they will have a ceremony here where he will be eulogized by the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, and then we will also hear from Vice President Kamala Harris, also eulogizing him. There will be a wreath-laying ceremony. He will lie in state here through tomorrow.
That's Alex Brichet, and the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Want to get yourself well? Of course you do. Wellness Institute of Nashville. You should want to get yourself well. When it comes to your back, let me tell you something. You don't mess around. I mean, I'm serious. Having played sports for as long as I have and done the things I've done in my life, the back problem, man, you have that and you have it for life. You are never, ever going to be right unless you find the right people. And that is the Wellness Institute. And let me tell you something, Dr. Mitchell, right? You go there and you talk to him, right? Dr. Ashley, go in and see the state of the art, what they have. And this isn't just about your back. This is about your knee. They've got this amazing thing for your knee. It is incredible, and it's non-surgical, which is awesome. You go in, they take care of you like there's no tomorrow, but most importantly, put you on the road to feeling good. And that's what you need, because a healthy back is a healthy life. Call 615-246-5009 today. Tell them Chad sent you. It is incredible what they can do for you right now. Half off spinal decompression treatment, half off KT knee machine, and you're going to want that. If you got a knee issue like I do, go see Dr. Mitchell and them today at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, 615-246-5009. Thunderstruck. I love, you can see, if you guys can't see Ken, but behind, he is rocking it hardcore. Hardcore.
Most people don't know this, but when he's back there and you see his head bopping, he's listening to Cannibal Corpse.
Oh, is he? It's his favorite band.
And people are laughing at that. It's true.
It's not my favorite band, but I do dig them.
They got a good beat. You could dance to them, kids. That's all I'm saying. I like them. It's crazy. So let me ask you this really quick, Ken. The weather outside, which is frightful.
Yes, sir.
What days are we looking for the big snow dump?
All right, that looks like it's going to start Friday morning, Brother Chad, and then it's going to be kind of isolated, starting right around the commute, maybe a little bit before the commute, but then it's going to be more widespread throughout the day. Eventually, we could see up to 2 inches in some places across Middle Tennessee.
Okay, so when we're talking about some real snow.
Yes.
There's the potential for that.
Yes.
Which is good. I mean, I like it. It's neat. Again,
You like it?
Yeah, I mean, it's good once in a while. Like my buddy used to live in Buffalo. He said, the first snow of the year is awesome, but by the, 12th foot of snow, you're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that. So it's kind of a neat thing to have a little bit of snow. And this looks like we're going to get a little bit of snow.
Yes. And I'm all right with a little bit of snow.
Yeah. Like we all should be.
Just, make sure it doesn't turn into a little bit of ice.
Yeah. And that's the big thing.
That's the big one.
The ice. I was talking to even Mason yesterday, talking about when he got into a wreck because of the black ice. You got to be. I was watching, because you go online and see some people yesterday in some places they don't normally get it. They were sliding down. Yeah. Their cars are going sideways, and people are standing there going, "Stay in your car."
Yeah.
Another car's coming. And the car would turn, and you're like, you don't know. And here they come, and they're just smash, smash,
boom,
smash.
boom, boom.
So be prepared for that Friday. So we should expect that.
Yeah, it looks like, starting Thursday night, a 20% chance of snow showers after midnight. So that chance is going to increase through the commute, where it's going to turn into 90% chance overnight Thursday, Friday. And then throughout Friday, snow showers likely, and it looks like it's going to taper off around midnight Friday.
Okay. Going to be a cold weekend.
Going to be cold.
Going to be cold, so bundle up. Be careful out there, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump is trolling the world.
The president-elect refused to rule out military or economic coercion to take control of Greenland and the Panama Canal. He did rule out using the military to try to take Canada, but he suggested economic pressure might see the two countries merged.
Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something.
Trump promised major pardons of January 6th rioters and said if there isn't a deal to release the Hamas-held hostages in Gaza by the time he takes office,
all hell is going to break out. Thank you very much.
Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
I'm going to tell you, he's not taking Canada. All right? He's not.
Who wants it?
The whole thought.
We have a hat.
Yeah, he's not going to take Canada. It's our top hat, right? We need our top hat, right? He's not taking, although Tim Hortons, not going to say no to Tim Hortons.
I've heard he's going to deport Geddy Lee.
Oh, is he? Is he? Bye-bye, Rush.
I wonder if he's related to Bill Lee.
I don't think so. I don't think so. There is a Bill Lee baseball pitcher. Are they one and the same?
I don't know. Do you ever see him and the governor in the same room?
I think that Bill Lee was called the Spaceman. He was an odd bird, pitched for the Expos. Just kind of just a weird, like, hippie. But he trolls. Like, oh, my God, he's going to take the Panama Canal. He's not going to take it by force. This whole thought process that he is able to think about, I'm going to do this because I know it's going to get all kinds of crap. People are going to freak out. They're going to react like, oh, my God, he's going to shit. Just settle down.
He loves to stir the pot.
He does.
He really does. That's one of his favorite things to do.
It is his favorite thing to do. He says stuff that's ridiculous. You react to it like a child. Because that's what he does. He does something that he knows you're going to react to like a child. And then what happens? Oh, my goodness me. Everybody talks about it, right? And they got 12 people at CN all around a desk. What do you think? Well, I think it's atrocious that he would do this. This is catamount to insurrection. What do you think? Oh, my God, he's leading us into war. Just settle down. Talk about real stuff. Here's something real that happened today that could have impact. By the way, several of you throughout the show have been texting us. This would have impact on you if you still have any debt medical-wise. This is real.
This doesn't mean you don't have to pay medical debt, but the government watchdog says it can no longer be factored into your credit score. This change is set to take effect in March, though lawsuits or congressional action could delay that timeline. Several credit reporting agencies have already taken some voluntary steps to remove medical debt from their reports, but banking and debt collection industry groups have argued that this rule will result in reduced consequences for not paying your bills.
It's not about reduced consequences. Here it is. A vast majority of people that are bankrupt, it's because of medical debt. You could pay everything, right? Like you could have a 750 or an 800 FICO score on everything, but what you didn't count on was that $110,000 surgery to have your appendix removed. And because anesthesia was a little bit longer. And because there was complications, you had to stay 2 or 3 days in the hospital. And oh, my God, you didn't count on that. And you had insurance. I mean, some of you were chiming in going, I had insurance, but it still cost me $45,000. And then you've got to go and the insurance company fights and this. It's crazy. It's nuts. So it's not about not having responsibility. It's about, once again, the thing we've talked about several times since the killing of Brian Thompson. The insurance companies, it's a battle with them to see how little they can pay. And the hospitals, it's a mystery to see what they think they can get away with. And who's stuck in the middle? It's you and I.
2 out of every 5 Americans have medical debt, and those unpaid medical bills can take a big toll on your credit score. But now that is about to change. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is finalizing a rule to erase $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans.
I think that's great. It's not that it's not there. But you eventually, what do you have to do? So they go, and then there's the battle, right, with the insurance companies, and they hire people to go in there and go, okay, this is $27,000. This should not cost $20. It shouldn't be $180 for a pair of slippers or toothpaste because they were there for 3 days. So they get it down to whatever it is. They agree to pay it X. So you say, all right, it went from $22,000 to $8,000. We're going to cover anything over the $5,000 deductible. Oh, you've already met your deductible? We're only going to cover 60% of this. So then that $2,300 you have to $4,000, whatever it is. And then immediately, if they don't think they're getting anything, they report you, and then they sell you off to a debt collecting company and write that off as a loss. It's all about the moving parts, the taking something from over here and putting it over there. Quite frankly, it's amazing when you think about it. It's so confusing. It's like Hollywood has what they call, Hollywood accounting. And if you don't know what Hollywood accounting is, the perfect example, maybe the best example, the movie The Santa Claus. I'm sure some people have seen it out there. 1994, Tim Allen, great movie. He does the movie. Supposed to get some back end like everybody else. That's kind of back in the day when, movie makes $90 million on like a $20 million budget. And they take a loss. Now, normally the way Hollywood works is if a movie costs $20 million, it usually double it for advertising, promotions, and things of that nature. So even if you had tripled it, made it $60 million, they should have still made money. But somewhere along the line, they lost money and write it off. It's a shell game. And it's costing us. And that's why people are frustrated, big time. And they're going to continue to be so until we have some serious transparency when it comes to what goes on with the medical debt and how you get billed and the surprise bills out there. So many of you have chimed in. It's like, hey, I went in for an x-ray and it was $4,000. Like $4,000. Yeah. I mean, one person said they had an MRI. They took it to another doctor. They said, take this. Then they had an x-ray and that was like $2,700. And they brought their own MRI. We don't know, because you don't know what it is. Could you imagine going into a restaurant today and you're like, okay, you order some food. There's nothing on the menu, like price-wise. And then you get up there and the person next to you had the same thing. They're like, yeah, that'll be $100. You're like, oh, geez. Then they tell you it'll be $475,000. You're like, what? My buddy, Jim, and you'll hear him, he'll be on the show every once in a while, Jim Kennedy Institute of Public Policy Research. We had a big discussion on my national show about this because he ended up being in the hospital for several days. And he said, like, I get my bill. My bill was like $76,000 because it was ridiculous. He goes, I got it down to like $1,500. Is it
the disparity between those two numbers just boggles my mind.
Just insane, right? Do you guys not know how to negotiate or what? Like, if you think you gave me $76,000 you really gave me $76,000 in treatment and whatnot, you wouldn't go, all right, $1,500 is fine. It's just.
Johnny B told me a story one time about how he went to get a colonoscopy. And he was going to pay cash, and he asked how much it was, and they're like, well, it's going to cost you X. He's like, well, I'm sorry, I can't do that then. And he started to leave, and they're like, wait a minute, how much can you pay? And he's like, $200. Okay, we'll get you back there. It's like, excuse me, what changed?
That's it. What changed? What happened here that this was going to be $4,000, and I said I can't pay that, and I had not met my deductible, and you're like, well, can you give me $200? Yeah. Okay. Oh, we'll do it then. It's just, this is why people are frustrated. But having this off your credit is big. Is big. And by the way, the company's like, it's going to make it seem like they're not responsible, and they're fine with it because they write it off anyways. They don't keep any of their debt. They sell a vast majority of their debt to debt collectors for pennies on the dollar that they were already going to mostly write off anyways. Any money they get is they're happy with. So the whole thought process of we're not going to be responsible, yeah, don't worry about that. Today, Zuckerberg changing stuff up over there at Meta.
Platforms like Facebook and Instagram are ditching fact checkers in favor of a community notes system. That's where volunteers on each platform decide if viral posts need additional context or correction. Tech journalist Chris Stokel-Walker says competitor X uses community notes to mixed results.
It takes a little bit of time for them to be attached to an individual post, and in that lag, those posts that have misleading claims can go incredibly viral.
Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Yes, and now there's that lag that goes easily viral there. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this.
The thing about it, though, is if you're on X and there's a community note, even if it was from like 4 weeks ago, there will be a message pop up in your notifications. One of the posts that you put up or you liked or you retweeted has had a community note attached to it. So you can go check it out if you want to.
Yeah, so it's not like it's never seen again. So, but it's interesting. We're going to talk a little bit about that because several of you have chimed in about Zuckerberg, about do I think this is real or is this some sort of money grab or whatever. We'll talk a bit about that, bunch of other stuff to get to. My name's Chad Benson. This is Super Talk 99.7. Raycon, best earbuds around. Where are my Raycons?
I have to interrupt you.
Yeah?
You have spoiled me because of those Raycons.
They're amazing, aren't they?
Unbelievable. And honestly, one of the biggest problems I've ever had with anything that goes in my ear how much it ends up pressing and hurting the cartilage. I love these things.
He gets it. You guys should get it too. They're earbuds. Everyday earbuds. They're incredible. 8 hours talk time, 32 hours of battery life. And I'm telling you guys, the fit is incredible. The feel is awesome. The smooth, they're just amazing. And the sound quality. Because, having great sound with a bad fit, it's not good. Having a good fit but bad sound, you don't want that. How about both? The price that won't break your bank, and that's Raycons. Tons of colors and styles to choose from. You will love the fit, you'll love the feel, and you'll love the price. They will not break the bank. I promise you that. You're going to save 15%. And check this out. 8 hours of talk time, 32 hours of battery life, fast charging, which is awesome. I love that. And active noise cancellation and multi-connectivity, just to name a few. Get your everyday earbuds from Raycon. Go to buyraycon.com/chat today. Save 15%. Buyraycon.com/chat. Buyraycon.com/chat.
Well, the first piece of federal legislation was just approved by the 119th Congress. This story and more at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse.
Out of touch. Out of touch, said Hall & Oates. That is a great song, right? You're out of touch.
One of my favorites.
I'm out of time. They still hate each other, right?
Yeah. Apparently they're still tied up. They had a gag order, or no, not a cease and desist. What protective order was filed.
Oates, right? Like Hall got Oates is the guy with the mustache,
right?
Yeah.
And Daryl Hall got a protective order because didn't he sell their stuff without his knowledge or without?
He tried to sell his portion without approval of the other stakeholders, which means Daryl.
Yeah.
Which they filed that here in Nashville.
Man, you can't have Hall and Oates without an Oat or a Hall.
Yeah, you gotta have them both.
I know. Some of these guys though, they're so bitter. Like Journey. I mean, I like Steve Perry, but my goodness, man, like, dude, how long are you gonna hold on for?
Well, now you've got apparently Jonathan Cain and Neil Sean can't stand each other.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how little these people can get together and just have a good relationship with each other.
Like Bon Jovi. Was it the last one where they got into a fight, and walked off stage? You had the whole thing with Perry Farrell and
Perry
Jane's
Farrell.
Addictions where they threw, they beat him up on. I mean, it's just, Oh, my God. So, but Zuckerberg, he's decided that you can, go online now and on Facebook and Instagram and post stuff. And if it's controversial, not going to be any issues. So I find that to be fascinating. And several people chimed in earlier and they're like, do you think it's real? I do. And this is just me. I don't think Zuckerberg was as politically active as people think. I think he's a business guy. I think he wants to make money and he wants to be a professional UFC fighter. He was hyper-focused on that. He got blamed in 2016 for Trump, along with Cambridge Analytica and the Russians. He overcorrected in a ridiculous way in 2020 and got sucked up into the insanity. And I don't think he wants any part of it anymore. I don't think he wants any part. I just think he just wants to live his life. And look, I think he's more of a libertarian, but I think he also realized, too, he probably feels he got burned by the government and the threats of the government. Because the government doesn't come out and say, do this or else, but it's implied, right? Like, you kind of get that it's implied. Hey, just throwing a suggestion out there. You don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to do it. It's a suggestion. So it'll be interesting, though, because I'm sure the way that he's going to work this, it's not going to be perfect. But I'm anxious to see, because I've been suspended numerous times on Facebook. That was a bunch of BS. And a lot of that is I get it's AI. It's completely slanted. He's moving everything from California to Texas, which I'm not quite sure what that means, because moving to Austin is like moving essentially from San Francisco to, the Texas version of San Francisco. But do I think that it's going to be better? I do. And I think a lot of this has to do with as much about what's going on in Europe, in particular in Germany and in Britain, as it does here. Because we've already had an election. It's done and dusted. And yes, some of it's business, right? He's given some money to Trump as far as his inauguration. So the way the inauguration parties go and all this stuff is the campaigns have to pay for it. So this big thing that he's going to do, and there'll be several parties, kind of like the Oscars, that is all going to be paid for by donations. So you've got Zuckerberg's throwing some money at it. You've got Bezos is throwing some money. Apple threw money at it last night. You've had several of them throw $1 million+ because you're also currying favor. It's what you do. Welcome to the world of politics. Several people chiming in when it comes to some people are mad at me because I don't know how insurance works. And for every one person that's out there, you just don't get it. We're on our way to single-payer health care. You're an idiot. I'm never going to listen to you again. Okay, that's fine. I'm not here to freak out about it. Good luck. But you're telling
people that want single-payer?
No, they're telling me, this guy's like telling me, you just don't get it. You're stupid, how insurance works, and that's not what's happening. I'm like, okay. But, as you're telling me how it doesn't work and this is all lies, I'm getting 20 text messages that say, I'm going bankrupt. I've lost everything. You want to know what's going to get us a single...
You've got anecdotal evidence from like 12 people.
You want to know what's going to get us a single payer fast? Everybody bankrupt.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, people are frustrated. They're angry because they don't feel they have any control and they think everything is like, we'll see what it's like when you get in there. And again, make it easy on people and you watch what happens. You make it easy where it's easy to understand, not a surprise and not a, we'll see what the insurance is going to come in. Because it may say that is what you're billed for. It's not what you pay. That's fine. But you may say that's my billable, but I don't know what the insurance is going to cover. Again, that's a crapshoot. And when you've got tons of people, somebody just said, I got $66,000 in debt. I'm drowning over here. Well, according to some people, no, you're not. You just don't get it, which is, again, insane. All right, coming up, we got tons of other stuff. A lot of stuff still to get to, man. I could have done like 8 shows today. I had that fun time with Jack Johnson.
I thought you do.
I do. I did one early this morning, and I'll probably have to do some stuff a little bit later on tonight. If you're missing the show, shame.
Double shame. But don't forget to check the website out for the new Chad Benson page that has our
stuff's up there now?
Yeah, our podcast pieces, our highlights.
Yeah, so there you go. So go grab all that and check out my Insta at Chad Benson Show and my Facebook, Chad Benson Show, and my Twitter at Chad Benson Show. It is a Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
2:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Heads up, drivers in Brentwood got a crash. Police on the scene. There's Old Hickory Boulevard right there at Cloverland Drive. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in our nation's capital, the new House just passed the Laken-Riley Act, the first piece of federal legislation approved by the 119th Congress. The bill named after the nursing student who was killed by an illegal immigrant while out for a jog on the University of Georgia's campus. The man who police say set fire to a woman on a New York City subway train last month has entered a plea. Here's Sherry Preston.
By all accounts, the crime was horrific.
The suspect used what we believe to be a lighter to ignite the victim's clothing, which became fully engulfed in a matter of seconds.
NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch on December 22nd. Now, the suspect accused of doing that has pleaded not guilty to murder and arson charges. Prosecutors say Sebastian Zapata is a Guatemalan citizen who was deported in 2018 but slipped back into the country. Subway crime is actually down in New York City, but Tisch says riders simply don't feel safe.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau finalizing a rule erasing $49 billion in unpaid medical bills from the credit reports of about 15 million Americans. Here's Elizabeth Schultze.
CFPB says that this move could boost borrowers' credit scores by an average of 20 points. That can help you qualify for mortgages and other kinds of loans.
Judges making decisions in 2 Trump cases today. A New York City appeals court judge rejecting Trump's argument sentencing in the hush money case should be delayed due to presidential immunity. And in Florida, federal judge Eileen Cannon temporarily blocked the Justice Department release of special counsel Jack Smith's classified documents report. And it's the start of 3 days of memorials in Washington, D.C. for former President Jimmy Carter. There's a military band as his casket arrived at Joint Base Andrews for transport to the U.S. Capitol, where he will lie in state until Thursday's state funeral at Washington National Cathedral. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
UAPs. Do you believe in UAPs?
There have been a lot of articles lately about UFOs. I know this question is a little out there. Is there any truth to any of this?
Well, we don't know. All I've said is we have people that have very high clearances, both today and in the past, who did really important work for our government or continue to do important work for the government, who have come forward with some claims about the U.S. having in the past recovered exotic materials and then reverse engineered those materials to make advances in our own defenses and technologies. That's the claim they make. Now, I don't know if those claims are true or not.
Well, Marco, get out there, right? You're going to be Secretary of State. You're the one that's going to get through the easiest, so you better get out there. By the way, for what I'm hearing, every one of his picks is going to get through. Pete Hegseth, you name it, Tulsi. They're going to just let him do his thing.
When do those hearings start? Is it after the inauguration?
No, I think they might start as early as next week.
Oh, okay.
I think this week because of, if you guys aren't hearing, Jimmy Carter died. He was ripe age of 100. Some of you are very angry. You showed no respect. I'm like, I find it weird. What's wrong with finding something weird that you would just put a person in a box, you'd fly him all over the country, right? You put him on horse and carriage because they're doing that. And then we're going to put him in a rotunda. Like most of you don't know what the hell a rotunda is. Right? And then people are going to stand there from the military and his family. What? Shake hands. Hey, sorry about your dad. I never met him and you don't know who I am. Is he in the box? Is he in there? Right?
What's in the box?
What's in there? Is he in there? How do I know he's in there? I made a long trek. I'd like to know for sure.
Well, you better not reach over because that Marine might kick you in the teeth.
Well, he's probably thinking the same thing. Really? I joined the Marines and this is what I'm doing? I'm standing here and all of my greatness, protecting a box with a 100-year-old guy in it?
Confirmation hearing starts January 14th.
January 14th, so there we go. Can't believe you said that about Jimmy Carter. Really? What's he going to do? Haunt me? Dumbest thing in the world. It is. I'm sorry. I don't care. It's just, I'm going to say it. Other people won't. It's stupid. It's dumb. All of these things are ridiculous. The pomp and circumstance, right? Your life should have been the pomp and circumstance. There you go. You know what? When it finally does, and for some of you out there, I know it's going to be sad. When it finally happens for Trump, man, he's going to be like, there's going to be clowns and jugglers.
Oh, man.
It's going to be a giant T made of gold shooting stuff out of it. It's going to be dancers. You know there is.
Oh, dude.
Because he wouldn't want it any other way.
Well, it won't just be 3 days.
Oh, no.
It'll be a month-long
celebration.
God.
And, you think like the whole
memorial,
the whole thought. Have you ever seen, like, what happens in North Korea? Oh, it's like a month where you're not allowed to laugh or smile.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's crazy, right? And he lays in state.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and they weep on the streets because it's a death cult.
Yes.
But here we go. We're just like, and it's funny because I said some stuff to people text. It's really rude what you said. Really? Really? What's rude about it? You don't find it odd? Like nobody finds it a little weird? Some of you have gone, I kind of find it weird when you really think about it. Like whatever happened to, like he wanted a nice, quiet, family, peaceful thing. Don't need the pomp and circumstance of any of this. It's not very nice, Chad. It's honesty is what it is. Speaking of Donald Trump, he's doing something to the Gulf of America.
Assets, we're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name.
The Gulf of America. He's just, and the left lose. Oh my God. He's going to try to take Canada. He's going to try to take the Gulf. He's going to rename stuff. And they just buy into it.
He's going to annex Mexico and call it Old Mexico as
Old
a state.
Mexico. We got New Mexico and Old Mexico. South Mexico, North Mexico. Canada Light. Oh, my goodness. It is just, and they react. That's what they expect. They want you to react. Like, they got nothing else going on. They're like, they got to react. Like, oh, geez, I can't believe that. And then they all get around in a table, right? And the Morning Joes of the world dissect. Do you really think he's going to attack Panama? What? No, do you think he's going to sell subs in there and take it over? That's what, it's so, I love it. I think it's hilarious. He trolls like nobody's business.
Oh, he does.
And he knows it. He knows whatever I'm going to say is going to get a reaction.
We're going to claim ownership of the moon next.
Yeah, well, we should have, right? Because we got our flag up there first.
That's right.
If we did go to the moon. Like, that's always my favorite. Because there's always one, like, so I'm going to get a text here in a minute. We never went to the moon, Chad. Stanley Kubrick filmed it. In a warehouse. It's always somebody, too, that lives in, like, a trailer, right? Self-published books about how he didn't go to the moon. You could see one of the moon rocks has the production number of one of the, back there, made by, like, Warner Brothers. I'm like,
Self-published books.
Back when self-publishing was hard, like, he'd have to go down to the Kinko's. Oh, good God. So true. You know who you are, people. So stop it. I see they're getting him out of the cat. Are you guys seeing this? Are you watching this?
Yeah.
It's getting out. So play-by-play. They've got all of the military, maybe even a Coast Guard person.
Yeah, Coast Guard. Coast Guard's represented.
They got everybody there. No Space Force, though.
No Space Force.
Space Force would have just flown them into space. How cool would that have been? Where's Jimmy? That's what Trump wants. He's like, I want to go up on a ship. Space Force, take me away. So, so awesome. Put me up high. It'll be great. So they got him out, and they got the band playing. I don't know what they're playing. Are they playing taps?
Let's see.
Shouldn't you be able to pick your music? So there it goes. Flags flying. It's a cold day out there in the nation's capital. What music do you think Trump would have? I like big butts and I cannot lie.
Oh, it's a hymn.
Is it?
Come as you are.
Okay, there you go. So now they got the casket out of the hearse, and now they're taking it over to the. And I joked earlier, but it's not. They're taking it over to the buggy.
Yep.
Where they're going to put it into, and then they're going to parade him through the town.
Yeah. They're taking it out of the buggy, and now they're putting it in the. No, they're putting it, like you said, in the buggy. And he's going to clop around.
What do you think they're saying when they're driving? Hey, Jimmy, you remember this? Huh? Oh, Chad, you're just a bad. I'm not. By the way, several people have chimed in. We didn't go to the moon. You know how I knew we went to the moon?
As far as I'm concerned, we never even got across the Atlantic.
You know how I knew we went to the moon?
How's that?
It's simple. Human beings inevitably can't keep their mouths shut.
Yes.
That's true.
Somebody is going to say something. And I've yet to find anybody who really worked on the project.
Oh.
There were thousands of people.
Thousands.
You can't tell me that somewhere in those thousands, somebody's not going to talk.
Yeah. It's like, there's just no way. Like, people can't keep their mouths shut. They just long to. That's why the CIA doesn't care that their people talk. If you know anything about the FBI, will never say anything. The CIA, we can interview them today. They'll tell us most everything. They don't care because they don't put gags on them because they know they're going to get outside of something they're working on or outing somebody. Is because people can't shut up.
That's right.
So if you think we haven't gone to the moon, show me the person and show me somebody who really worked there. By the way. Well, my cousin's uncle's aunt's sister's friend, ex-boyfriend worked there. Said we never went to the moon because he was a cameraman. I'm not buying that. You and your self-entitled published book. We never went to the moon. You ever seen some of those people? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Sitting there drinking their big gulp on disability.
That's quite a bit of horsepower they have on that buggy there.
What if that thing takes off?
I was getting ready to say, man.
Do you guys remember? This sounds horrible, but whatever. We're having fun today. Because I have fun every day. Do you remember when Khomeini died? and they tried to put him on the helicopter.
Yeah.
And he was going through the people, and they started ripping at his body, and I'm like, he's coming apart.
Oh, man.
He was coming apart, though. I mean, they were going crazy.
Whew. That would be something.
All right, here we go. Somebody says it's not a buggy, guys.
Didn't they pull his body out of the vehicle it was
Out
in?
of the vehicle, and wouldn't let him get to the helicopter, and they all started pawing at him.
Yeah.
Which is not going to happen here. But it's called a Carson for us civilians. It's not a buggy.
Okay.
Okay, so he's now technically on the Carson.
Yes.
Now, how far do they take him? I mean, I'm fascinated by the whole thought process that we do this for a human being. You know, it's not like he's going to know, hey, guess what we did for you? And is he being buried? This is the other thing. Is he being buried in D.C. or is he going back to his home?
He's going back home.
So wait a minute here. I want to get this right. We flew him from his state where he died.
Yes, sir.
Into D.C. so people could walk by his casket, only to say, we're going to put you back on the plane and fly you home.
That's it.
It's odd. It is. And I'm not trying to be mean. The pomp and I'm not a big pomp and circumstance guy. And I don't find, it's never been that way. But I just find some of this is just a very bizarre, the way we go about doing these things. And I could say, okay, maybe with like Kennedy or like, especially in the prime and this young, I could see some of these things. Jimmy Carter hasn't been a president since 1980.
Yeah.
He probably thought we went to the moon. More of you saying we didn't go to the moon. Yes, I know it's a Carson, guys. We know it. We know it's a Carson. It is not like people want to make sure that we know this is a Carson. It is not a horse and buggy.
We were just saying buggy because that's what it looks like.
Oh,
it looks like a buggy.
It's a K-San. Oh, God.
Oh, a K-San. Okay.
Said the person who wants to make sure we get everything correct. You're fun at parties. And this is why you're alone.
Well, from looking at the shot of the street there, they're going to take him quite a, as they say in the South, quite a piece.
Oh, really?
To the cathedral.
Are they pulling it, or is there horses?
No, the horses.
That's what I thought, but it looks like they were all standing there.
Well, they're just standing at attention.
And everybody's like, dude, we're going to go slow, but stay here just in case one of the horses spooks.
Boy, that'd be something. Wow.
They're you know what? They're the same kind of horses like when... So Disneyland, if you ever go to Disneyland, many of you, oh boy. So you go to Disneyland and they have those horses that are everywhere that you see there. Clydesdales. I used to own one. I bought a retired one, and like he was at a barn and I bought him, because they sold him for $1,000. He just lived this last 5 years and I paid virtually nothing for him. And I just go feed him carrots and stuff. But they're trained to essentially, they call them bomb proof, where if something could explode, they're just going to stand there.
Wow.
You would need that. Like, it's good because you're at Disneyland all day.
Well, yeah. You know
how many kids are there? Wackadoos are screaming at that thing?
Yeah, man. That it's got to be terrified.
Oh, yeah. So, so there we go. So, yeah, they're ready to roll. This is, again, it's a lot of pomp and circumstance. And if you feel that I'm I have nothing against Jimmy. I was one of the few here that said, Jimmy Carter was a great human being, all of those things. I'm not here to, I think he'd probably think this is a bit much.
Probably.
Just putting it out there, everybody. All right, coming up, Matt's going to be in here. We're going to have a chat, find out what he's talking about. Maybe see if he agrees with me. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he thinks I'm a horrible human being. Maybe he thinks I'm not as horrible as you think. I saw him leave with Jack Johnson, so he may not be back. A bunch of other stuff we can try to squeeze in if he doesn't come back as well. This is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com/Chad. Now, what is Rough Greens? It is a supplement. It is not food. It's a supplement for your dog. It's powder in nature, just like you would be if you were working out in the morning, like, I want some of this stuff, and you put it in your drink. Same thing here, but this time on top of your dog or cat's food. So they got Meow Greens and Rough Greens. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9. They got enzymes, all this cool stuff. You will love it. Now, what do? You scoop it on there and you let them go. They'll love the taste. You're going to love what it does for them. Aches and their pains and their joints. It's going to help with their teeth and their gums, their skin, their fur. It does so many amazing things, and it's awesome because they love the taste. But you're also going to love the fact that it's going to keep them healthier and happier. So if you'd like to try a Jumpstart trial bag for free, it's $20 value. They're going to send it to you. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. It's that simple. RUFFgreens.com. Use code CHAD when you go there. You get it. You don't have to change anything to buy special food. You have a chance to get Meow Greens or Rough Greens, a $20 value Jumpstart trial bag for free. Roughgreens.com. Use code CHAD. We're in the middle of something here. By the way, everybody, we know what it's called now, so you don't have to call Ken and I.
It's a wagon. Everybody knows.
It's not a wagon.
It's a wagon.
You ruined it now. See, he said it.
It's a wagon, right? That's what we used to call a wagon.
Well, we called it a buggy earlier, and you would think that...
No, a buggy is the thing you push around the grocery store.
Or in England, a buggy is what you take the kids in, a trolley or a buggy.
I had a very, this is like proof of metal. As a talk show host, I had a very, very contentious radio show about whether it was a buggy or a cart. And I'm big on buggy. My grandma called it buggy. I'm going to call it buggy.
I think it would take Murphy for that subject to turn into
Oh my
a
God.
contentious issue.
People got so mad at me.
You know what?
It's not a cart. Stop it. Shut up.
It's a regional thing because
I think so too.
Like if you move out towards the say the west part of the country, they'll say cart, just like pop or soda.
Sure.
So, do you find this ridiculous?
So I was listening to you, and I don't mean to pour a reasonable attitude onto your take. That
I like it. Please do.
But funerals are not for the dead. They're for the living.
This isn't a funeral. This is like several days.
Yeah, it is.
It's not. It's pomp and circumstance.
Well, what is a funeral?
If you're Irish, it's a place to go get drunk and talk about Jim. Jim was really mean to me at one time.
I mean, there was a time when I think human beings, our ancestors, thought that funerals were necessary to get the person to the great beyond, right? And so there were ceremonial practices in order to do that. Now there are ceremonial practices just to make us feel better about the life that was lived. And they're for the living. They're not for the dead. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, I don't get into it.
I just find it weird. Most of all, I find it weird that we fly somebody from Georgia to D.C., we put him in a rotunda, we walk by him, and then we fly him back home.
You know what's really weird? What? If you want to take another step forward in this evolution? Cities of the dead. There was a time when we had cities of the dead because there was disease and we needed to get them away from us. And so we would go, and we didn't have the technology to burn them. And so we would get them away from us and bury them and then give them a little marker signifying that this person was here. That's what I call cemeteries. Cemeteries are cities of the dead, and there's no purpose for them anymore.
I know. That's why we're shooting you off into space.
So, but you know what? You'd say that to people and people freak out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you go to, like I've been, haven't been in Europe for a long time, went to Paris on numerous occasions, and underneath Paris is
a lot of dead people.
A mausoleum. That's all it is. It's really just a ton of, it's crazy because they didn't have anywhere to stick them.
Well, I mean, and I think the ceremony is important for living people only in as much as we don't want to face our own mortality.
Yeah.
And this gives us a way, I don't want to say to avoid, but it gives us a way to put a kind of a final stamp on an individual's mortality. I mean, I guess I get it, but you're right. It's an odd circumstance that you're just, that person's not there. They're not in there. That's their mortal. I mean, if you are a spiritual person, then
that was their meat suit. It's over.
Yeah, that's right. It's over. So why? But it's a way for people to grieve. Yeah. I mean, I get it.
Because if it's about celebrating him, they should have celebrated him a month ago.
But I understand your point that the vast majority of these people never knew Jimmy Carter, never met Jimmy Carter, didn't know the real Jimmy Carter. They're just, they have an imprint or a memory or whatever, and I don't understand why it's important for those people. You're not connected to him in any intimate way, so why is it important for you to walk through the rotunda and see his casket?
You made me wait in line when I was a kid to get gas. I'm not waiting in line to walk by your damn casket. So there's that. I should check and see what my license plate is on the back.
But take it back, Panama. Here we go.
What are you talking about?
Jimmy sucks. So we're talking about Donald Trump's press conference, which I thought was great today. We'll also delve into some of the legislative session activities that are coming up next week. It's all coming up on the Matt Murphy Show.
What? That's straight ahead. You guys have a blessed rest of your Tuesday. Eat some tacos, okay? This is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.